What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto's jutsu backfired? And every girl fell for his female form? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to Oregon L, creator of this beautiful creation. Demons don't cry, devils don't see cry. I sniff, W won't sniff, see cry, said a child, as the tears of sorrow poured from his beautiful blue eyes. His silver hair was matted to his head from rain. His clothes were torn and bloody. He couldn't be older than 5, and yet he was kneeling over a body. The body of the woman who was the best thing to come into the small boy's life. And she was dead, lying in a pool of her own blood. His right arm felt like it was on fire, his small body was beat up and sore, and a large katana stuck out the ground not a few feet away. The blade was stained crimson with blood that seemed to eerily slide down the blade into the ground. But he didn't care. Not about the sword, his pain-racked body, or even his arm, which now glowed a supernatural blue, and seemed more demonic than that of a man's. No, all he cared about was her, the one he loved, the one he lost. Might controls everything. Without power you cannot protect anything, let alone yourself. The voice seemed to echo from all around him. It was the last thing he heard before passing out from exhaustion. From that day forward my arm changed, and that voice echoed, "Power, give me more power. Anyway, I'm Uzumaki Naruto and I'm on my way to pass a ninja exam. Why? So I can kill shit and not get in trouble for it. I'm kind of, unique. I don't really know what to call my powers. A curse, gift, or bloodline, not like it matters what I call it. But whatever you want to call them, know that they come in handy when killing demons, and I'm gonna do everything I can to destroy every last one of those bastards. Y'all see, they took someone from me, someone I really cared about. What did they do to her? They killed her. But let me start over from the beginning to clear things up a bit. Flashback. Sarutobi the Sandaime, or Third Hokage, also known as the Professor because of his vast knowledge of jutsu and his ability to utilize them all in combat effectively. But even with all his his power, and his skill, he was still stuck at his desk going through papers. None of his abilities could help him find what he was looking for, a caretaker for a 4-year-old boy. It should have been easy, but this boy was none other than Uzumaki Naruto, the chosen container of the Kyuubi. To many people he was the creature sealed inside him. They ignored the 4th Hokage's last wish to treat the boy as a hero. No, they did the opposite. They used the boy as a scapegoat for their problems. He was once again looking through a stack of files of individuals that could take in a young boy and raise him. He had already thrown out most of them. They must have, though he was senile or stupid. He knew they still held grudges against the fox, and it would be the ideal situation for an accident to occur. This is ridiculous, he shouted, angrily slamming his fists into his desk, both scattering papers and splintering the sturdy wood under him. Wait, his hand blurred for a moment, snatching a paper out of the air that had caught his eye. I wonder how I missed this one. A civilian chef who settled here a little before the attack. No family left, but not because of the fox. Appropriate space. No grudges against Naruto for what is sealed inside him, and is also a friend of the family. She's perfect. Still looking at her file, he called. Inu. There was the sound of rushing wind in front of him. Yes, Hokage-sama. The third looked up from his paper to see an Anbu guard with silver hair and a dog mask standing before him. Would you please get Uzumaki Naruto for me? There is someone I'm sure he'd be happy to meet, he said, still in deep thought. Yes, Hokage-sama, the man said, then disappeared in a swirl of leaves. The third sighed before getting up. I will have to watch them for a few days just to be sure. If there are no mishaps, I'll leave them be. He then walked out of his office, sandaled feet making no noise as they carried him towards his destination. Naruto was having a good day. The boy was walking down the street humming a merry tune. First, he had gotten a free bowl of this stuff called ramen for being the very first customer to a new stand by stumbling in by chance. It tasted great, definitely one of the best things he'd eaten. He wiped the drool making its way to his chin. So far no one had said anything mean to him. No cold stares today, they just ignored him, and that was fine. He even got to play with some other kids without the parents yelling at him and dragging their children away. Then he got back at that jerk who had ripped him off a few days ago and didn't get caught. It's amazing what yelling, pervert, at a guy near the hot springs can do. Just thinking about it made him laugh. That guy didn't know what hit him. And it serves him right. First he overcharged my groceries a few days ago and then he has the balls to peek in the women's hot spring. Chuckling merrily as he continued on his way, no paying attention to where he was going. Yep, my day is going. Oof. Ow, that hurt, the young boy said, rubbing his nose. What I hit? Huh, looks like a nin. Oh, looking up slowly he saw a silver hair guy with a dog mask on. Alright Naruto, be smooth. Play it cool, you can get out of this one, you've done it before. Taking his calming breath and letting it go slowly. Alright, I got this. I didn't do it, I swear. He yelled out defiantly. The Anbu looked at him for a moment, his mask-covered eyes seemed go pierce straight through him. Naruto was starting to sweat. Actually, he said in a bored tone, I came to get you. The Hokage wishes to see you. Phew, that was a close one. Naruto thought, wiping his forehead. I almost thought, but if there is anything you'd like to confess. He continued. Naruto laughed nervously. Hee hee, of course not, Anbu-san. I haven't done anything all day. I just happened to see someone being beat mercilessly by a group of angry women in towels. You wouldn't have anything to do with that, would you? He drawled out in his bored tone. Of course not, Anbu-san. He must have just got caught doing something bad. He said nervously. Come on, please buy it. I suppose. Anyway, come with me to the Hokage. He knew, but honestly it was still pretty funny. Besides, the guy had it coming. Alright. Lead the way, Anbu-san. Phew, close call, but the good day continues. You see, that is why I need you to take care of him. The orphanage is being biased towards him and I don't trust many others to actually take care of him, and the ones I do trust don't have the time to watch him. I also thought that since you were a good friend of Kushina you wouldn't have any anger toward him. The third paused to study the woman across from him. She had light brown hair kept in a ponytail, but a few loose strands framed her angelic face. Her eyes were a soft brown that held nothing but kindness. She wore a simple sundress with an apron over it, but that only seemed to enhance her beauty. She even had a figure even most kunoichi would die for. Seeing no suspicious actions, he continued. Of course his opinion matters as well. So if you agree, we will also see if he accepts. The woman, who had been quiet the entire time while listening patiently, finally spoke. I would be happy to look after him, Hokage-sama. I could use the company and the help. Besides, I always wanted a son to look after. The third nodded his approval. Now will Naruto accept you? A swirl of leaves kicked up to reveal Inu along with a passenger who was currently amazed at how they managed to get here. Whoa, Anbu-san, how'd you do that? That was awesome. I mean, we were just standing there, you moved your hands and poof, we're here. Naruto seemed to stall for a moment before resuming full force. Can you teach me how to do that, please? Please, please, please. Inu seemed to think about it and Naruto's eyes glittered with hope. Maybe, the Anbu started. Yes. Naruto, joy-filled cry echoed through the room. Then began a victory dance. When you're older. He finished. Naruto, who had been jumping around the room in joy, came crashing to the floor head first. Naruto, sit down please. The third said, getting the attention of the small boy who was now nursing a large bump on his head with comedic tears streaming down his face and mumbling to himself. The boy, having his hopes dashed by the Anbu, went to throw himself in the empty chair, not noticing the female occupant of the room. The third cleared his throat, snapping Naruto out of his daze. Naruto, I called you here to ask you a very important question. The Hokage now had Naruto's full attention. The woman next to you has heard of your problems with the orphanage and has proposed a remedy to the situation. Naruto didn't know where this was going. And bringing up the orphanage made him remember things that were less than desirable during his short stay there. Finally noticing the woman next to him, he was stunned by how pretty she was. What would she want with someone like me? Catching himself staring, he turned to the Hokage and asked, so what question do you want to ask? The woman decided this would be an appropriate time to speak. Naruto, I'm Kairi and I was a good friend of your mother. Naruto's eyes widened at this. And after hearing your problem, I've decided that I can adopt you, that is, if you want. If Naruto's eyes were big before, they were huge now. Naruto was thinking in overtime. This lady who was nice and pretty wanted to adopt him. Is this a joke? No, it couldn't be. Gigi wouldn't do that to him, would he? No, Gigi never hurt him before, why would he stat now? I want a family, but how do I know that she won't just turn out like all the other mean people? The others could tell the boy was struggling. Should he pass up this chance and risk losing it forever, or take it and risk being hurt again? As much as they wanted to help him, they couldn't. This was his choice and he had to make it. The boy's struggle was quickly becoming even more fierce. Tears were slowly gathering in his eyes. I don't want to be alone anymore. I'm tired of the only one not having a family. It's not fair. Will she be any different than the others, that the ones who call me a demon, a monster, and curse me while I'm not looking? After watching the boy fight and try to sort his feelings, the boy spoke up. I just have one question, just one. Kairi looked at him, his hair was now shadowing his eyes. What is it? She asked gently, careful not to scare him. The boy finally looked up, tears streaming down his face, nothing goofy or funny about them. These were real tears, tears that held so much pain, more than any child should have, and he was trying to hold them back. Will you love me? The woman stood from her chair and went kneel in front of him. She looked into his teary eyes and gently wrapped him in a hug. I will love you like my own, she whispered softly in his ear. Naruto returned the hug full force, as if scared she would disappear if let go. His mask crumbled, and for the first time in a long time, and he openly cried tears of fear, sadness, but most of all joy, because he finally found a family. The Sandaime and Anbu watched silently as the scene unfolded before them. Soon all the essentials were taken care of and Naruto was on his way to his new home with his new mother. What followed the next few months was perfect. Kairi was the mother Naruto always dreamed about, smart, kind, and beautiful. She was also gentle, she never got angry when he did something wrong, she would just smile and corrected him. And Naruto did everything he could to be the best son possible, to see that smile. When his birthday had came around, she had actually managed to give him a party at her restaurant. Everything was in place, food, presents, but most of all friends. The Hokage was there along with old man Tucci and his daughter, Ayame, from the Ichiraku ramen bar. Kairi was even able to convince the parents of children that were his own age had come to play with him. It was great. He had been sure to be nice to them to make sure to prove the bad rumors about him wrong. He even learned all their names. There was Hinata, Sakura, Shino, Choji, Shikamaru, Ino, and Kiba. He didn't know how Kairi did it, but then again he didn't care. They were even happy to be there, they weren't just forced to come. It was the best day of Naruto's life. Everything was perfect. Too bad it was all about to end. Sarutobi was disturbed. He had been getting more and more reports of lesser demon fights. While the lesser demons themselves weren't surprising, after all there were creatures such as the nine-tailed fox that roamed the land, it was still alarming at the increasing frequency of the attacks. Some villages and travelers that didn't have shinobi or any other type of defense were in great danger. Kairi and Naruto were currently returning from an outer village northeast of Konoha that had specific ingredients needed for the restaurant. It's been a couple of months since Kairi first adopted Naruto, and if a person would see them they would not believe the child was adopted, let alone a few months ago. They seemed like any other mother and son. Naruto was helping set up camp when he heard it, an eerie laughter that sounded inhuman. Then he saw them. They seemed to come out of nowhere. Ugly, bulbous creatures, some had a crude scythe for an arm while others had the blade for a leg. They seemed slightly slow and moved oddly, that is until they started attacking him. They seemed to jump and attack in complicated formations. His small form was hard-pressed to avoid all of them. They had even managed to surround him. Just when he thought things couldn't get any worse, he heard a sound that scared him worse than any laugh these creatures could produce. It was the sound of Kairi's scream. While trying to avoid these monsters, he had forgot that she had went to refill their canteens with the nearby steam. She was in danger. Forgetting all worries about his own safety, he charged the nearest monster with a scythe on their leg. It is unbalanced with its weapon, so it should take longer to recover if knocked down. His analyst was quick and fueled by emotion. The nearest one with a blade on its leg was in front of a few others like it. He pushed his legs harder, he needed all the momentum he could get. The monsters had not moved yet, either out of curiosity of what he was doing or amusement at his retaliation. It left Naruto the opening he needed. Naruto, not slowing in the slightest, reared back his right fist and slammed it into the creature. Whether by his momentum or his strength, it was enough to knock the creature off its feet and into a few enemies behind it. All of them went tumbling to the ground as a result. Naruto flew past them, stepping on some in his path. Hearing another scream, he ran faster. If he hadn't been worried about Kairi so much and getting there, he might have noticed the faint blue glow coming from his right arm, the one used to punch the monster for an opening. Trees seemed to be a blur and they flew by him at impressive speeds. His lungs and legs were burning and cry out in protest from the strain he was putting them though. What was that? He wondered, but a third scream broke that train of though. It sounded more desperate, more fearful. He needed to hurry. He finally broke though the trees into a clearing. Seeing Kairi surrounded by those monsters, already looking slightly scratched up, he acted on instinct alone. Leave her alone, he screamed, punching the one that was about to lunge at her with all his might. It flew into a group of others and exploded seemingly to the shock of the other creatures. Naruto, watch out. Naruto barely turned in time to see one take a swipe at him. Time seemed to slow. As he moved out of the weapon's range, he saw another lunge from out the corner of his eye, the blade on its arm trying to slice him in two. Oh no, you don't. It seemed to come natural to him. He suddenly lashed out with his arm, grabbing the monster by the leg, spinning him around, hitting ones around him and throwing it back at a group of them. Only at that moment did he notice the blue glow his arm was giving off. Everything seemed to stop, even the creatures recognized his arm and they seemed to be scared of it. Then suddenly a brilliant flash of light came from his arm, blinding the creatures, Kairi, and even Naruto himself. When they all regained their sight, they stood there in awe. Naruto's arm, while still human-shaped, looked more demonic, composed of armor that was a dark reddish hue, and the area under the armor was blue, replacing skin that was once at the hand and shone through the cracks in the armor. Power, give me more power. Naruto held his head in pain as the voice echoed through his mind. Now the creatures all recovered from their shock, now recognized him as a threat, and they were going to get rid of it. They all attacked at once, some jumping in air while others rushed him from the ground. Time froze. You are not going to die, not when you are one of my descendants. You got the power, it's in your blood, and all you have to do is use it. Naruto looked around wildly for the voice when he saw him. He towered over Naruto. He wore black pants, a dark blue shirt, and topped it off with a large light blue coat. His stark white hair was slicked back neatly and he had gray eyes that seemed to pierce into Naruto's own blue orbs. Are you or are you not one of my blood? Use your power to destroy this trash. After all, you want to save her, don't you? He glanced at Kairi for a moment before looking back at Naruto. Naruto thought for a moment. He could use anything to help him take these things down. He had to protect Kairi. I'll do whatever it takes, Naruto said finally, with a look of determination in his eyes. The man pulled out a long katana and held it out horizontally. You see this sword, young one? Naruto nodded. This is the sword of a great devil, and only another of that devil's blood can wield it. Will you accept the power to crush your enemies, even if it means becoming just like them? Naruto went silent. Would he? If that sword is that powerful, he could save Kairi, protect her. But he would become a demon, a devil. He looked at Kairi's fear-filled face, fear of him dying. He turned back to the man who hadn't moved from his spot, from watching him patiently, waiting for an answer. I accept my blood and my power. Glancing to Kairi again, his eyes lingered on her before turning back. I just want the power to protect her. I don't care if I become a demon. The man studied him with powerful gray eyes. With a nod, held out the sword. By accepting the blood of your ancestors, I bestow upon you Yamato. Draw your blade, accept our power, and become stronger than any other. Naruto shakily reached over and took the blade from the man's hand. And with that the man disappeared. No leaves, no smoke, just gone. But he didn't have time to think about it. Things were coming back to life. Unsheathing the man's sword, his sword, the blade let out a dull ring in his left hand as he sprang into action. Yamato whistled through the air, moving in a blur of speed, and leaving nothing but a flash of light in its wake. By the time the demons were back to normal speed, he had already cut through half of their numbers. They were attacking with everything they had now. One came from above. He brought Yamato up to block the slash, throwing the creature off balance, then cut its torso off. He then grabbed at the creature that was trying to sneak up on him with his right hand, but what grabbed the creature was a larger hand, fully blue and seemingly spiritual, but still the same shape. It doesn't matter. I'll become a demon to protect her. With that he took the creature still in his grasp and slammed it into the ground. Its body was crushed by the force. Instinct seemed to take over completely. As he fought, he changed. His hair lost its sun-kissed shine and was replaced with brilliant silver similar to the man in blue. His body structure changed ever so slowly, becoming built for battle. and his blue eyes seemed to now glow with untapped potential. Upward slash, cutting an enemy in half groin up. Jumping into the air following force of the slash. Grab, pulling one up to him only to crush it back into the ground using gravity as his weapon as well. Downward slash while falling, splitting one cleanly down the middle into two pieces. Horizontal slash, cutting though three of them, while grabbing another to smash it into the ground. The carnage continued. They never stood a chance meeting their end from either Yamato or his demonic arm. All throughout the battle it felt as if Naruto had done this before. Yamato felt like an extension of his very soul, and his demonic arm seemed to respond perfectly to his will. Finally he cut though the last one. He was gasping for breath and his muscles were burning, but he and Kairi were alive. He turned around to see Kairi's face smiling at him only to be replaced by a look of shock as a blade stuck out of her stomach. No, pain was forgotten. Adrenaline-fueled energy returned full force as he moved in a blur, appearing to next to the monster, grabbing it with his demonic arm to smash the creature into the ground once, twice, three times, then crushing it in his grip mercilessly. Seeing the wound he calmed himself. The blade went through but missed any internal organs. He didn't know how, but he knew. He tore his blood-stained t-shirt and quickly wrapped the wound. Hold on Mom, Konoha isn't far. He already had her on his back. Yamato was mysteriously sheathed and by his side, and using every bit of his will and strength he pushed toward their destination in a dead sprint. He could already feel her blood seeping through his crude bandages. He didn't know how long it was, only it started to rain and that she was fading fast. Hold on Mom, we're almost there. Hold on. His silver hair was matted to his head, tears and rain streaming down his face. He felt his foot catch a snag and tripped. They went crashing to ground. He could see her land a few feet away. Yamato also went flying into the air, falling out of its sheath and stabbing into the ground. Help! Somebody help us! Even as he screamed out for someone, he was heaving himself up. Rushing to her, the blood had soaked through her bandages completely and her breathing was ragged. Come on Mom, we're almost there. He tried to pick her up but his strength was failing him. Someone, anyone help us. He heard a sound and saw two Chunin appear beside him. They seemed started at his arm, but his heart leapt in hope. You gotta help her, she's dying, we got attacked. Don't just stand there, carry her. Teleport her, get a fucking medic, do something. Naruto was hysterical now. Kairi needed help and these guys were just standing there staring. These Chunin were battle hardened. They knew the woman wouldn't make it. She wouldn't survive the trip, whether physical or chakra. Even she knew it, they could see it in her eyes. Naruto's eyes were clouded with tears. The rain poured on and around them. Do something please, he begged. Naruto, he heard her weak voice and instantly focused his attention on Kairi, moving quickly to her side, putting her head in his lap. Naruto, I'm sorry, you tried your best, we both did, but I can't make it. She reached up, caressing his face with the back of her hand. He leaned his head into her hat and holding it with his to give the cold hand warmth. I wanted to surprise you. I know how you wanted to be Hokage, so I signed you up for the academy and paid for it. Be strong Naruto. If not for yourself, for me. It hurts knowing that I'm leaving you alone again and I'm so sorry. They were both crying now. Don't leave me Mom, please. He whispered. Naruto-kun, did I ever tell you I love it when you call me that? It makes me feel great being your mother. Her grip then weakened and went limp. Her breathing slowed and stopped. And her eyes closed, never to see the world again. Mom, Mom, Mom. His fists were clenched so tight blood seeped from his palms. His head was bowed as he tried his best not to cry. Let it out Naruto, is okay to cry. Sandaime said from behind Naruto. Demons don't cry. I, sniff, W won't, sniff, C cry. And with that he broke down. Tears of sadness and hate came free as he held her body close and cried. His right arm felt like it was on fire. His small body was beat up and sore, and a large katana stuck out the ground not a few feet away. The blade was stained crimson with blood that seemed to eerily slide down the blade to the ground. But he didn't care. Not about the sword, his pain-racked body, or even his arm, which now glowed a supernatural blue, seemingly more demonic-like than that of a man's. No, all he cared about was her, the one he loved, the one he lost. Mom, might controls everything. Without power you cannot protect anything, let alone yourself. The voice seemed to echo from all around him. It was the last thing he heard before passing out from exhaustion. A few days later we find Naruto along with others' families, from the Hyuga family to the Ichiraku ramen stand family, at the funeral of Kairi Uzumaki. Naruto didn't shed a tear, he couldn't. He had cried himself to sleep for the last few days. The only thing hiding that fact was the thick sunglasses. He just stood there, in his black clothes and bandaged arm in a sling staring at that stone. Here lies Kairi Uzumaki, loved by all, dear friend, Ali, and most of all, mother. The third stood next to him. Oji-san, when does the academy start? He spoke suddenly. In a few days. Naruto, why? The third asked, puzzled. Because I need more power. This won't happen again, ever. And I need someone to help me with my sword. After all, might controls everything. Without power you cannot protect anything, let alone yourself. The Hokage sighed. Very well Naruto, I'll see what I can do. End flashback. Naruto stood before the academy entrance in baggy black pants and a large black trench coat. He didn't do shirts, they always got messed up when he used his powers. Besides, most his age thought the seal on his stomach was a tattoo. His hair was messy and worn down and his look was complete with black combat boots, Yamato by his side, and his right arm bandaged up to the shoulder. After all, no one needs to know about my trump card so soon anyway. He looked at his bandaged arm and clenched it, causing a faint blue to shine through the bandages. Might controls everything. Without power you cannot protect anything, let alone yourself. He then kicked down the door and walked in. I need more power, to protect the ones I love. A young man with a scar on the bridge of his nose sat silently at his desk next to his silver-haired assistant. If one would glance at him it would seem as if he was finalizing his paperwork, but to the more trained eye they would notice he was silently observing the students. We have quite a few genin hopefuls this year, don't we, Iruka-sensei? The silver-haired assistant spoke. Yeah, I noticed there seemed to be more this year, Mizuki. I only hope I've taught them well enough to pass both my exam and their Junin senseis. Observe carefully, we will have to make teams not only based on academics but also on how they have interacted in class. The students themselves were blissfully unaware as they continued their excited chatter. Many students were bragging on how they would pass easily while others were tired from cramming all night. Iruka finished his observation and turned to his assistant. Mizuki, you can go ahead and start roll now. Sure, the man said, getting up. Mizuki tried, but he was painfully unsuccessful in getting the class's attention. A little help, Iruka-sensei? He asked, looking a little embarrassed. Iruka chuckled to himself before getting up and taking a deep breath. Quiet down. Utilizing his powerful demon head jutsu. Silence seemed to settle instantly. Iruka patted Mizuki's shoulder good-naturedly before returning to his seat. While Mizuki called roll, Iruka mentally listed the most promising students. Let's see, the Ino Shika Cho trio look interesting. They are already close and teamwork should come naturally to them with their techniques supporting one another. I might make a tracking team with Hinata, Shino, and Kiba. Kiba may bring Hinata and Shino out of their shells while they calm him down a bit. All the Inuzuka pride could get him killed. Who's left? Sakura, while not from any clan, has the book smarts to make it through the exam, and hopefully she will have a Junin sensei that will make her more useful in the field. I'll put her with Sasuke to balance them out since he is the year's rookie. Wham! The door suddenly flew across the room at speeds that would put some ninja to shame and crashed into the far wall. Naruto calmly strolled in, absently scratching at the whisker-like birthmarks on his cheeks, and took the nearest seat, kicking his legs up on the desk. Naruto, he needs to let people in. I know the death of his mother hit him hard, but the kid constantly trains himself into the ground. If he actually tried in class he would do well. I really don't have a choice but to put him with Sasuke and Sakura since he is dead last. Mizuki finished roll and explained the exams. They would start with written then move on to practical. The tests were handed out and done soon after, so all that was left was for the students to perform a simple bunshin. Some kids came out with their new headband while others only left with disappointed faces and some even in tears. Soon it was Naruto's turn. Uzumaki, Naruto, Mizuki called, his head poking out from the test room. Naruto? He called again, looking up from his paper. Yay, I'm up, damn it, don't get your panties in a twist. Naruto walked by, ignoring the angry Chunin. Naruto, you must create at least 3 basic bunshin and, Iruka started. Yay, I know. Naruto went through the proper hand seals and in a poof 3 perfect clones were next to him. Excellent Naruto, you pass. Here is your headband and congratulations on becoming a Kohona Genin. But how come you didn't take the test earlier if you can perform the jutsu perfectly? Iruka asked his student, looking greatly puzzled. Naruto shrugged. Didn't feel like it. He grumbled while walking out and tying his headband to his left arm. If he had looked, he would have seen an evil glint in Mizuki's eyes. Walking outside, he made his way through the huge amount of parents there to congratulate their kids on becoming a genin. Like always, he was only met with glares, whispers, and the shuffling of people eager to move out of his path. Naruto felt his heart ache a bit watching a student run up to hug a woman who must have been his mother. He clenched his bandaged hand absently while crushing the sadness back down. I have better things to do than dwell on the past, Naruto thought as he shot a glare to two women in a corner who he heard talking about him. They stood paralyzed as he unleashed directed killing intent at them. He stared into their fearful eyes before releasing them and walking away. That'll make the bitches think twice next time. The two women suddenly fell to the ground when released, their legs no longer able to support their weight. They both sat there trembling and in tears from the after effects of the mental assault. Seeing one's own gruesome death will do that to a person. The setting sun was now casting a glow over the training ground. In the beauty of the sun's rays, the training ground looked like a war zone. Trees were destroyed, while craters and deep slash marks littered the ground. Naruto was nearby, hunched over, on one of the few patches of green left, trying to catch his breath. His coat was off, leaving his chest bare, and showing off muscles that would make a girl drool. The bandages on his right arm were still on in case anyone happened to interrupt him. Finally, about time I got it right. Now all it needs is a name. Standing up straight, he took a deep breath. You can come out now, Mizuki, he said, turning towards where he sensed him. Oh, how you doing, Naruto? How did you know it was me? The smiling Chunin asked, coming out the shadow of a tree with a large scroll on his back. You're not very good at hiding your killing intent, Naruto said, staring him in the eye. Judging from those weapons, you came here for a purpose, so drop the nice guy act. Mizuki's face took on a more sinister look. I came here to destroy you, demon. I was just going to take the scroll and leave, but I want revenge for everything you put me through. Ah, poor Mizuki. You're not still sore from my little pranks, are you? You should have known better than to mess with me. Naruto chuckled, then added, besides, they couldn't have been that bad, could they? You have no idea how horrible it was. Mizuki screamed, a crazed look settling in his eyes. Day after day, over and over again, the pranks just kept coming. I was the laughing stock of the village for years. It only kept getting worse. And it's all your fault. You were the one who did each and every one of those pranks. I never caught you, but I knew it had to be you. Yay, whatever, you know you really shouldn't blame others for your problems in life. And I see you're a traitor now, as was as a total loser, so that means I can have fun taking you down. Naruto took a deep mocking bow. Shall we dance? Setting the scroll down carefully to the side, Mizuki started the battle by hurling one of his oversized shuriken at Naruto. The oversized weapon was harmlessly batted away by Yamato. But the time it gave him was all Mizuki needed to finish his string of hand seals. Kaden. Gukaku no Jutsu, he called out, exhaling a bullet of flames. Naruto, not impressed by the move, just jumped into the air, over the ball of fire, only for another to follow him into the air. Just who does he think I am, some amateur? He thought, switching, readying Yamato in its sheath. Judgment cut, he said calmly. Yamato left its sheath with blinding speed, cutting through the air with a lightning-quick slash before returning to its sheath in the blink of an eye. An arc of light seemed to strike the fireball. When Yamato clicked back into its sheath, the ball of fire just bursted into embers. Not bad for its first use against a real opponent. Mizuki didn't know what happened to the fireball, but he moved as soon as he had launched the attack. He spared a glance back to the origin of the fireball to see a huge trench slash carved in the ground. How did he do that? Naruto landed softly. He then dragged his bandaged thumb across his neck in a throat-slitting gesture before extending his arm with his thumb pointing down. That was pathetic. You can do better than that, can't you? Mizuki just gaped at how close the attack came to hitting him. Naruto then got into a defensive stance with Yamato sheathed on his right side with his left hand on the hilt. Going through more hand seals, one Mizuki became 5 with a cry of Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Then 3 clones charged at him head-on. Illusions? Naruto wondered. He then noticed the clouds of dirt kicked up by their footsteps. No, they're solid. How does the loser know a move like that? The first two reached him at the same time, splitting paths and lunging from opposite directions. One swiftly had his torso separated from his legs. The next, who attacked his blind spot, was stabbed in the stomach before having the sword torn through his side. Both bodies, or what was left of them, disappeared in small bursts of smoke before they hit the ground. The third Mizuki clone seemed to pause for a moment, then resumed its charge. You think he'd notice that tactic, didn't? The Mizuki ducked under Naruto's sword stroke, aimed for his head and grabbed onto the blade before starting to glow. Bunshin Daibakuha, it shouted. Never mind, Naruto, quickly releasing his sword to jump away. The following explosion threw his sword into a tree trunk. Fucker, that was sneaky. I like that, he thought while landing on the ground. Ha, right where I want you, demon. The last two Mizuki lunged at him with their huge shuriken positioned to kill. Don't really have a choice. Oh well, not like he is going to be able to tell anyone after I'm done beating the stupid into him. Naruto sighed as he brought up his right arm to shield him from the blow. The weapons found their mark but didn't cut though like Mizuki planned. Instead of blood, when the weapons impacted, the bandages exploded outward in a brilliant blue shockwave of power. Then with a roar, Naruto retaliated. Using monstrous strength a student fresh out the academy shouldn't have had, he pushed the two back with a swing of his demonic arm. The blow dispersed the clone and threw Mizuki back into a tree, his weapon shattering from the power unleashed in the swing. Mizuki looked up fearfully at the creature before him. The sun was almost completely gone and the darkness seemed to increase the evil glow of Naruto's arm as the boy stood over him. What A or Y you? He managed to stutter out in terror, looking around for any way to escape. Naruto just looked at his glowing arm. Come on, Mizuki. You were the calling me a demon over and over again. What with the piss your pants look? Afraid because the demon can defend himself? Mizuki knew he didn't have much left. He was tired and almost out of chakra. The boy looked no worse than when he had started the fight. He had to finish this and get away in one move. He began to slowly, carefully set his ninja wire in position. Naruto looked up from staring at his arm and saw the act of desperation. Look, Mizuki, I'm feeling generous since I got my new move down. I'll humor you and give you one last shot. Come on, boy, come on, make it count. He said, clapping his hands as if talking to a dog, a really stupid dog. Mizuki didn't waste his chances. Ninja wire flew from his hands, wrapping around Naruto. With a hard pull and a jump into the air, Naruto was now tied to the tree Mizuki had been leaning against previously. Mizuki gathered all the chakra he could into his finisher. He didn't care about escaping anymore. He just wanted to see this monster dead. Bringing the wires to his mouth, he shouted his technique. Ryuka no Jutsu, sending out a monstrous torrent of flame towards Naruto's bound body. Naruto just looked on as the flames met him. He didn't even scream when the fire engulfed him. The fire was so strong it burned though the tree itself. The tree groaned as it crashed to the ground. Mizuki hunched over, gasping for breath, looking into the shadows where Naruto had been. There was no movement, no sound, nothing. I did it? Mizuki laughed. I did it. I destroyed the demon. I'll be a hero. Mizuki's joy-filled cries were cut off by his scream of pain. Falling to the ground, he stared at the bloody stump that used to be his leg and then to the blue ethereal blade in the ground a few feet away. But, not bad. I think I'm kind of impressed, Naruto said, landing in front of him. I take that back. What use is a powerful attack like that when you don't make sure that you get the real opponent? But I'll cut you some slack and give you a D- for effort. But how? I trapped you. There's no way you could have got out. Mizuki screamed hysterically. I know, not bad, huh? Your handy little technique helped out a lot. Still gonna have to work out some of the kinks though. Then it hit him. Cage Bunshin. He managed to recreate my technique and use it against me in the middle of the battle after only seeing it performed once. That should be next to impossible without a Sharingan. Seeing Naruto's unharmed form broke Mizuki, he had nothing left. You were toying with me, weren't you? You got me, Mizuki, sensei. Can't get past you, can I? You should feel honored though, after all I used my newest technique on you. Naruto said, pointing to the blue blade in the ground that was starting to disperse. I like the term, summoned sword, for it, but I guess it doesn't matter with the surprise and all. I'm also still trying to make the damn things explode too. Naruto said thoughtfully, then continued. I'll get it eventually, but this is enough to keep you here till the old man shows up. All your chakra is used up, and even if you did have enough to move, let alone walk, you only have one leg. And of course there is still the fact that I'm here, the boy said smugly. But I do have one question. If you think I'm a demon, what the hell's up with all the fire jutsus? Kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? You really are the Kyuubi no Yuko then. Mizuki said mournfully. I'm not the demon, I'm a devil, there is a difference. Naruto answered. He attacks me first and I'm the bad guy? Maybe my pranks may have messed with his head a little more than I thought. Mizuki knew he was beaten, so he had nothing left to lose. He was drained of chakra, disabled, and he could feel the Hokage's chakra getting closer. He was going to either be killed or tortured and killed. So he would go for a low blow. Naruto was walking to go retrieve his sword. Ironically, it was stuck in a tree a few feet away. Must have been moving around more than I thought. Mizuki then took his last cheap shot. That explains how your mom died then. At those words Naruto froze. What the hell are you talking about? The question came out harsh. Anyone could tell that was a sore topic. It's obvious, isn't it? You killed her. Mizuki yelled out to his still form. Naruto turned as soon as the words left his mouth. That's a fucking lie. Take that back. The mocking gleam was gone from his eyes. They were now as cold and hard as glaciers. Mizuki was terrified at the killing intent Naruto was leaking out, but he was dead anyway. I bet you had fun torturing and raping her. Seeing the life leave her eyes as she died, you damn foe. Before he finished the last word, Naruto was on top of him, his human hand holding him by the hair while his demonic one started to repeatedly punch him in the face. Naruto had a look of pure hatred on his face as beat Mizuki mercilessly, his fist slamming into Mizuki's face over and over again. I'd never hurt her, never. He didn't stop even though he felt the man's skull start to crack from his blows, even though he saw the blood smeared on his hand in Mizuki's face, and he ignored Mizuki's shouts of pain that turned to pleas for mercy, and then to whimpers of a man begging for death. She loved me. Don't you ever talk about her. You hear me? Overcome with rage, Naruto stopped punching him, grabbed him by his head, spun his broken body around him and released him to soar across the clearing. Then tearing Yamato from a tree it was sheathed and he hurled the sword after him with all his might, but that wasn't enough. Following after Yamato were 5 ethereal blades summoned one after the other. Mizuki slammed into the tree. He felt his spine snap from the impact, but strangely he couldn't feel anything. Everything just went numb as a spiderweb of cracks shot out from where his body connected with the tree. Before he could even fall to the ground, Yamato flew true and stabbed deep into the middle of his chest, bursting from the bark on the opposite side with blood leaking from the tip. He didn't even have the energy left to scream in pain, or even fear as the blue blades followed. Thunk, 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 thunk. 4 blades stabbed deep into his stomach. Life blood shot out of his mouth and he raised his head just as the last blade hit him. The blade cut off his head with ease, even cutting down the tree itself. Blood shot from his neck like a fountain, only for it to pool on the ground, missing Yamato's hilt since the blade was buried deep into his chest. This is the sight the Hokage came to see when he entered the clearing with 4 Anbu behind him. He faintly heard one of them whisper, "Damn, overkill much?" As 2 went to inspect the body and the other 2 to retrieve the scroll, Sarutobi walked towards Naruto, who was walking up to the body himself. Walking next to Naruto, who didn't break his stride, he asked, "Did you do this, Naruto?" Naruto stopped in front of the body and just looked at him before reaching forward and pulling Yamato from Mizuki's definitely dead body with a sickening squelch sound. Letting the body crumple to the ground with nothing left to support it, summoned swords having already dispersed. Naruto flung the blood off in an elegant motion and sheathed his sword, then answered, "I disposed of a traitor, Hokage-sama." The Hokage knew the look in the boy's eyes. He could see the carefully hidden hatred clearly, and he knew it wouldn't pay to scold him since killing was natural in a ninja's career. "Very well, Naruto, but I want a report on what happened tonight on my desk tomorrow along with your ninja profile. And also I want no one to know of this. It's hard enough keeping you out of trouble without people out to get you, is that understood?" Naruto smiled. "Yay, thanks old man," then went to gather his coat before jumping off. Sarutobi then looked at Mizuki's body sprawled out on the ground in its own blood. Then followed a trail of the red substance to the unrecognizable head a little ways to his right. One of the man's legs was gone. His body had what looked like deep sword wounds. His back was bent at an unnatural angle. The head itself worse than that. The hair was dyed red in its own blood, and his face was just a bloody smear, looking mangled and twisted with almost no features to identify it to the man he was in life. "You really were a fool to bring this upon yourself, Mizuki," he whispered under his breath. It was a beautiful new day, the sun was shining brightly in the sky, the birds were singing. "Just take the damn picture already, old man, I got shit to do." Fine. Kids today, no respect for their elders. And Naruto was in a hurry to get his picture taken so he could get the old man off his back. Flash. Naruto stood in his picture with all his clothes on, his shuriken holster was securely strapped to his left leg, and his right arm once again bandaged to the shoulder. His silvery untamed hair and trench coat danced in the wind behind him. Arms crossed over his chest in Yamato on the right side of his hip. His handsome face seemed slightly feral with the whisker-like birthmarks on his cheeks. If anyone saw this picture they would wonder how the fangirls hadn't sunk their claws into him yet. Why the hell does a ninja need a picture anyway? Shouldn't we not want to be seen? Whatever, it's too early for this shit. Naruto was now sitting in front of the old man and some random guy who thought he was the shit because he got to sit next to the Hokage. "Is this the full report, Naruto?" Sarutobi asked with a hint of suspicion in his voice. "Yay, I even detailed how I kicked his ass. Can I go now? I want to work the bugs out of a jutsu I'm learned." "Very well, you may." Both suddenly turned towards the door. It slid open and a small boy jumped out. With a battle cry of, "Prepare to die, old man." The boy then tripped on his scarf and went crashing face first into the ground. Naruto could just feel the large sweat drop forming on the back of his head. Then this other guy with sunglasses walked in and started blubbering about nothing. Naruto got up to walk out the room when the boy came to stand in front of him. "Hey, you tripped me," he yelled, pointing at Naruto. "No, I didn't. Now out of my way," Naruto said, picking the boy up by his collar and glaring at him. His right arm showing no signs of strain from the extra weight. "Unhand him at once, Naruto, that is the Hokage's grandson, Konohamaru," the guy with sunglasses said. Naruto looked up at the guy then back to the kid who now had a smug look on his face. "I don't care who he is. Keep him out of my way or he'll be dog meat, or should I say fox meat." The small boy then let out a cry of surprise as he was flung effortlessly into the wall and landing, none too gently, on his rear. "Ow, that hurt," he though on the verge of tears. "What gonna cry, grandpa's boy?" Naruto taunted, walking out. "Suck it up, kid, crying doesn't get you anywhere. Learn how to fight your own battles." And with that he was gone, ignoring the sunglassed man's stunned look. "Who does that guy think he is? Wait a second, Naruto. As in Naruto the prank master, I had to get him to train me." The small boy was off, pain a distant memory. Everyone seemed to ignore the guy with sunglasses as he kept talking gibberish. Naruto was really annoyed now, this kid just wouldn't take a hint. The runt had followed him all the way to the training ground he was going to use. "Listen, you're going to come out right now before I punch you into the Hokage monument," he said, agitated. "So it's true you are the great Uzumaki Naruto," the boy said as he revealed himself from his, rather poor, hiding spot. "Wah, am I famous or something?" Naruto questioned the boy that walked up to him. "You don't know?" the boy asked. "Well, gee, I guess not since I'm asking," Naruto said, annoyed. Konohamaru's seemed to burst. "You're the great Uzumaki Naruto. You're a prankster legend. You're the only academy student ever to prank Anbu, the Hyuga, and my grandpa without getting caught. Your pranking genius and creativity strike fear into the hearts of the most battle-hardened shinobi. You've also only been caught twice, once by grandpa and once by the legendary Iruka-sensei, only person ever to keep up with you besides the Hokage, of course, and even then you let them catch you." And Naruto decided to stop the rant before the kid died from lack of air. "Okay, I get it, you're a fan, so what, you want an autograph or something?" "No, I mean yes I do, but that can wait. Can you please train me?" the boy asked. "I'll do anything to learn your legendary Oiroke no Jutsu. It's said you once made the Hokage as well as a full squad of Anbu pass out from blood loss with the jutsu." There is also the rumor that you have created a newly improved version of the Oiroke no Jutsu that is said to be 1,000 times more deadly. Naruto was dumbfounded. I didn't know I was that famous. All of that was mostly just training exercises. How did they hear about the Harimu no Jutsu? Anyway, I don't remember ever using it. Well, he's right, with the Kage Bunshin it has been perfected. Naruto decided to humor the kid. Guess I do need someone to take my place since I'm leaving the academy. Gotta keep Iruka-sensei on his toes. Alright kid, I accept you as my first apprentice. But be warned, if you accept this position you will listen to everything I tell you. If I say jump, you will jump high, and you will not come down till I tell you to do so. Do I make myself perfectly clear? Naruto now stood straight with his hands behind his back. Konohamaru instantly followed his example. Sir, yes sir, he said, standing at attention. I can't hear you, maggot. Naruto shouted down to the smaller boy. Sir, yes sir, Konohamaru shouted back at the top of his lungs. Alright, then let's begin, shall we? Naruto said, cracking his knuckles. How dare that monster steal my student away from me? I am the elite of the elite. Only I can properly shape the boy into a worthy successor to the Hokage title. I, the great tutor Ebisu, will crush the demon fox and reclaim my student so he can continue on the true path to greatness. Aha, there you are. With that, Ebisu jumped from his watchpoint, fading from view. Naruto and Konohamaru were currently sitting on a log taking a breather. Or more like Naruto was watching Konohamaru take a breather. Not bad, kid, not bad. You managed to impress me and that's not very easy. Naruto said to his young charge. Konohamaru smiled. Thanks boss. The small boy could feel himself swelling from the praise. Of course, Naruto continued. It's gonna take much more to become Hokage, so don't even think about getting a big head. Konohamaru visibly deflated. Naruto then let out a deep sigh. Also know this now, I may be your teacher and you my student, but in the end I'm only your guide. I can show you how I fight and I can show you every one of my jutsus. The small boy perked up in excitement at the idea. But the truth is you're not me and you never will be. Only you can define the style that fits you best. You could grow differently than me, making the way I fight awkward for you. And even with the same jutsu as me, you'll still be unable to use them exactly as I do, with chakra level and control differences. But boss, listen to me Konohamaru, I want you to ask yourself this, did the Hokages all have the same jutsu? How about strengths, weaknesses? Of course not, they were all unique, different. Each one defined their own style that fit them best and kept making it stronger to balance or get rid of weaknesses. Naruto paused to let it sink in, then continued. The Hokages were great men, but that's just it, they still started as regular guys. They had to crawl before they could walk just like everyone else. They weren't born powerful or wise or leaders. But what they did different, what defined them as Hokages, is that when they were faced with a seemingly impossible obstacle they didn't back down. No, they rose to meet that challenge head-on, they did the impossible itself. That's how they became great men. That is how they became Hokages. Naruto then sensed another presence coming. Honorable grandson, I've come to take you away from this nuisance. I forbid you to be in his presence any longer. Only I can show you the quickest path to the title of Hokage. Ebisu said, landing in the clearing. No, go away. Shut up kid. Naruto interrupted, then turned toward the teacher. What kind of bullshit are you going on about? You know as well as I do there is no quickest path to Hokage. Silence. I do not need you turning my own student against me. I want you to stay away from him. The man finished this with a cold glare laced with a little killing intent. Naruto was completely unfazed by the attempt to scare him. Look, I'll make you a deal. You and me right here. I win, you actually teach Konohamaru instead of just preaching bullshit, and if you win I'll stay away from him. Naruto then took a defensive stance, while whispering to Konohamaru. Watch close if you want to see the perfected version of the Oiroke, so stand back. I accept your challenge, boy. I am far more skilled than that fool Mizuki. Taking his own stance, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, one Naruto then became dozens surrounding Ebisu. What? You think this move could never possibly beat? He stopped when he noticed them all make a simple henge seal. When the large smokescreen had cleared away, Ebisu had trouble breathing. Girls, completely different from each other of all shapes and sizes. The only thing they had in common was their beauty. They had gorgeous, not one dog was among them. The women were still close to him but each held a very deadly-looking katana somewhere on his body. "Ebisu-sama," one of the blondes whispered huskily into his ear. "If you have a nosebleed like the pervert you are, we're going to teach you a very, very painful lesson. Do you concede?" The question was punctuated by a rather painful prod from her sword. "I concede," he stated, miserable ly. The brat only used the technique to get in close. How foolish of me to let my guard down. They all disappeared in clouds of smoke, even the one that asked him to concede. Naruto calmly walked up to him through the smoke. "Now, you lost fair and square to my Harimu no Jutsu. You had to teach the kid, not just preach to him. And you better make him work hard, don't you dare baby him, and none of that shortcut crap. If he doesn't listen just tell me, I'll fix that." Naruto then walked to Konohamaru. "You tell me if this perverted idiot starts getting lazy. And you better not slack off yourself or else." Konohamaru paled and swallowed the nervous lump in his throat, thinking of the things Naruto could put him though. "See ya, I'll try and say hi whenever I can, but I'm not making any promises when." Naruto started to walk off. "Why did you help me so much?" Konohamaru asked quietly. Naruto paused and without turning around answered. "Because kid, you have the same goal as me. But I don't know if I'll reach my goal. So I need someone to fill that seat if I don't make it. Oh, and be sure to only use that technique only on the opponents I told you about." Naruto walked away, disappearing into the shadows. Ebisu walked over to Konohamaru. "What is the technique he spoke of? Did he teach it to you?" "Yay, I managed to master it too. Wanna see?" the young boy asked excitedly. "Why, of course, I may be able to point out something the two of you might have missed." Putting his hands in a seal-gathering chakra, he was obscured in a cloud of smoke. Whatever Ebisu was expecting, it wasn't this. "Well, what do you think, Ebisu-sama?" she asked shyly, blushing under his gaze. Before he knew it, the blood rushed from his nose. The force so great it lifted him off the ground, only for him to come crashing down a moment later. All this was too much for him as his brain started to shut down from sudden blood loss. As he teacher passed out, Konohamaru let the technique go. He paused for a moment to make sure his teacher was out, by poking him with a stick a couple of times. Then a joy-filled cry burst from his lungs. "Yes, Oiroke no Jutsu is a success. Will the devil become a genin? Where am I?" Naruto wondered as he looked around. He was on a mountain of some sort. Stone pillars towered over him. The full moon was behind him. It seemed so close, he wondered if he reached out. Could he touch it? That's strange. Droplets of water were frozen, hovering in midair. When he moved his hand, though, he felt the dampness collect on his arm. He also saw that he left a trail of clear air where his arm passed. Damn, that's interesting. Then he noticed the two men frozen in the middle of battle. They looked almost exactly the same. If it wasn't for the difference in color of their clothes, it would have been impossible to tell them apart. Both had silver hair matted to their hair from the pouring rain. Looks of identical rage on their features. They even looked kind of familiar, he just couldn't remember where. "You've heard of it, haven't you? The Legend of Sparta?" He was instantly alert, trying to pinpoint the voice. It sounded like a woman telling a story to an infant. Everything sprang to life at the sound of her voice. The rain resumed its collision course to the ground. The battle that was frozen in time moments ago came back to life with frightening intensity. Long ago, in ancient times, a demon rebelled against his own kind for the sake of the human race. With his sword he shut the portal to the demonic world and sealed the evil entities off from our human world. But, since he was a demon himself, his power was also trapped on the other side. The voice resonated from all around him. Since he couldn't find the source, he just listened and watched as the fight raged on. Their swordsmanship made Naruto's skills look like a beginner. The swords were invisible blurs, meeting in explosions of water. Neither seemed to be giving or losing any ground as their blades danced around them. One final clash and the water exploded around them in the shape of a dome. Then they were frozen again with their swords still locked. When he felt a hand on his shoulder, he instinctively went for his sword only to find it gone. He turned to see the face of the person able to sneak up on him. Damn, the woman couldn't be that older than 20. She wore a cheongsam, or form-fitting dress, with the sleeves cut off and large slits in the dress for a wider range of movement. It also showed off her bust and legs quite nicely. She wore skin-tight leggings with high-heel boots under the dress. And on her arms were thick wristbands. All her clothes were black in color. Her hair was blonde and went down to her waist. All in all, she looked hot. She eyed him with an amused expression before turning to the two locked in battle and continuing. Their powers are impressive, are they not? Not even fully grown into their demonic heritage, and they can already defeat demons centuries older than them. Of course, what else is to be expected from Sparta's own two sons? But alas, their stories has passed. This is you story, descendant of Sparta, so I'm related to this Sparta guy too? Naruto asked, staring at his arm. That's where I got my devil bringer from? The woman also looked at his arm as if knowing what lay under the bandages. Yes, this is how you have acquired your unique abilities. Even now, as we speak, your power grows as your devil blood becomes even more potent. A word of warning, you will face difficult challenges ahead that will cause you to use this power, but you must not let it consume you or you risk becoming a slave to your own darkness. The world around them went pitch black without warning, a desolate void with nothing in it. The dreams will become more frequent, but for now our time is up. Hey, what the hell, I still got questions. What challenges? And what do you mean my blood is becoming more potent? And who are you anyway? Naruto shouted to her. All will be revealed in time, young one. She spoke calmly. But for now you must return. She suddenly lashed out with an open palm thrust, hitting him square in the chest and sending him flying. He shot up from his bed with a start. He just sat there for a moment, collecting his thoughts and absently noting the rising sun outside. Damn it, all she did was give me more questions. It was the day he finally started his career as a genin. Naruto was walking to the academy when a blur of pink and yellow rushed past him. What the hell was that? He shrugged. Oh well, not like it's my problem. Iruka sat at his desk thinking. What was going through his mind, you may ask? I can't believe Naruto was able to kill Mizuki. I know he's strong, but Mizuki was still a chunin. Rookie chunin, but a chunin nonetheless. Ever since Naruto joined the academy, Iruka watched him carefully, believing he was the Kyuubi, but as he watched he only saw how human the child really was. Iruka's didn't know when it happened, but his opinion of Naruto changed. Iruka started to try and understand Naruto. When the child would get in trouble, he'd ask the boy his side, and every time he got reasonable answers. He came to discover some teachers that went out of their way to getting him into trouble when it clearly wasn't his fault. Iruka got the child out of plenty jams, but there were some even he couldn't fix, no matter how strong his evidence was. In doing this he earned the boy's respect, trust, and immunity from the more creative pranks. Oh, Iruka still got pranked alright, but those were more good-natured and funny than the others created out of revenge. Some of those others still made him shudder. When Naruto started training himself into the ground and stopped caring what others thought of him, naturally Iruka worried. When Iruka asked him about it, he didn't know what terrified him the most, the way the boy said it or the answer itself. Iruka-sensei, there are people who have already made up their minds, and no matter how hard I try I'm not gonna change it. So if I can never have their respect, then I will have their fear. It's as simple as that. He let out a deep sigh. You need to stop worrying, Iruka. Besides, it's time to start these kids on their careers as a ninja. But before Iruka had a chance to start his speech, the newly repaired door was hurled open by two bickering young kunoichi who rushed in at the same time. I won Ino Pig, so I get to sit next to Sasuke-kun. The pink-haired one shouted to the blonde. No way, foreheads don't count, Sakura. Besides, any decent ninja could see that I won by a mile. The blonde-haired girl, Ino, shouted back at the pink-haired Sakura. The two were now fighting next to said seat, trying to push the other out the way. Iruka was just about to intervene when everyone stopped talking to stare, even Ino and Sakura. Naruto Uzumaki casually walked in, pausing briefly to look around. He calmly walked to the nearest open seat, which just happened to be the one Ino and Sakura were fighting over, and sat down, kicking his feet up. None of the students moved. They all knew you never got in between the two head members of the Sasuke fan club. Get out of my seat, Naruto. The two girls screamed in union. The girls' eyes widened in realization of what they had done. A loud collection of gasps was heard throughout the classroom. Besides not getting in the way of the Sasuke fan club, there was another rule you never broke unless you wanted to spend some quality time at the hospital. Never, ever, even think about messing with Uzumaki Naruto, no matter what the circumstance. It was made absolutely clear the first few days of the academy when a few older kids thought it would be fun to pick on the new kid because his mom had died a few days before. These kids had the advantage of numbers, size, training in ninja arts, and experience. Even with all that, not one of them ever looked the same again. Naruto had beat the crap out of them. The term, "a face only a mother could love," was redefined. The message was loud and clear: do not fuck with me. Ever. The kids that attacked him were hospitalized for at least a month, and after they got out they quit the academy, some because they couldn't continue and others out of sheer fear of what would happen if they ever went back. The kids' parents tried to do something, but they couldn't find anything to fault Naruto on since it was self-defense. But back to what Sakura and Ino are doing now that they have realized they broke this rule. The girls were now trembling in fear of what would happen to them. They heard the rumors of what Naruto did to girls, and let's say that they would rather be beat up. Naruto lazily opened his eyes, freezing them in place, then slowly got up from his seat. He seemed to tower over the two girls even though he was only a few inches taller. He ever so slowly leaned closer to them before pausing, his cold blue orbs staring into their very souls. The tension in the room was now so thick it could be cut with a kunai. The girls who were normally rivals were hugging onto each other in terror. They were so scared they could wet themselves. Iruka had to hold back a laugh. Too bad they don't know Naruto hates to hurt women. The silence was broken by Naruto. You two should sit down somewhere, your legs are barely keeping you up. And with that he sat back down, leaving the seat next to Sasuke open and inviting. He made sure to leave room for one to pass by him. A sigh from the class echoed through the room. Sakura and Ino crumpled to the ground. Iruka decided to clear his throat loudly. Would you girls kindly have a seat? One problem: there was only one other seat in the row above Naruto. That meant one would have to sit next to him while the other could sit safely above him. "It though why you wanted to sit next to Sasuke-kun, Ino?" Sakura asked nervously, trying to keep her voice from stuttering too much. Sakura was a smart girl, she liked Sasuke, but it wasn't worth her life. What about why you, Sakura, you wanted to sit next to him too, didn't you?" Ino corrected, failing just miserably to hide her fear. Ino, while not as book-smart, still knew life was worth living. They both sat there for a while, eyeing the seat next to Sasuke nervously. Iruka was getting impatient, they were going to have to solve this soon. "Look, we'll play a game. Loser has to sit there with Naruto." Ino proposed. "Deal. The game is slug, toad, snake. First one to lose sits next to Sasuke and Naruto." "Fair?" Sakura asked. "Fair," Ino answered. 1, 2, 3, go. Draw. 1, 2, 3, go. Draw. 1, 2, 3, go. One of them eeped at the result, so scared she wasn't able to scream. Sakura was now looking fearfully at Naruto while Ino was safe seated in the row above. Iruka had finished his lecture and was going though. Team 7 will consist of Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke. Sakura would have jumped for joy, but she was too busy worrying. "Please not Naruto, please not Naruto, please not. And Uzumaki Naruto." Iruka finished. "Oh no," she thought, slowly turning her head in his direction. He was just sitting there, feet kicked up and eyes closed. It's like he doesn't care who's on his team. She couldn't seem to make out any emotions on his face. "Quit staring, babe, you're making me blush," he said sarcastically, not opening his eyes. Eep. Her head snapped up to the front to see Iruka finishing his lecture on team structure. The nerve of that baka, cha. Ignoring her inner persona's rant, she as the Junin teachers walked in the room and called for their teams. None called for Team 7 though. "I'm sure our teacher is just running a little late. Right?" The man in the clouds burst out laughing. "Hours later we find them still there. What's taking him so long?" Inner Sakura wasn't pleased with their new sensei's tardiness, and neither was she. "So what do you think our Junin sensei is like?" Sakura said, trying to make small talk. Naruto shrugged from his seat in the corner and Sasuke only grunted, still in his same seat. It had been at least an hour since Iruka-sensei left. "Whoever this guy is, I don't like him," Naruto said, eyes still closed. Sasuke just grunted again. Naruto cracked an eye open to peer at Sasuke. "Hey pretty boy, get that stick out of your ass. We're on the same team now, so we're gonna have to talk to each other eventually." A vein came to life on Sasuke's forehead. Naruto continued. "Oh, and do you try and make your hair look like a bird's ass, or is it just like that naturally?" That vein was joined by others while his eyes started twitching. "What about you, babe? You seem to be able to talk. What do you think about the team?" Naruto said, switching his attention to Sakura. Sakura was still wondering what was taking their new Junin-sensei so long. A little small talk can't hurt. Besides, I wonder if the rumors about Naruto are true? Well, we seem to be balanced out well. Sasuke is Rookie of the Year, I'm top in academics, and you are, well, dead last. Punk. Inner Sakura finished for her. Of course she wouldn't dare say that out loud. I'm what? He taunted. She's saying you're dead last, idiot. Sasuke glared. Hey, the pretty boy can speak after all. I may be dead last, but I can still sweep, mop, and dry the floor with your bird-ass-shaped head. Rookie of the Year, more like show-off of the year. What, you angry? You gonna do something or go sulk in a corner somewhere? Naruto had his full attention on Sasuke now. Sasuke didn't know what it was. Normally he could just ignore people, but this guy just got on his nerves effortlessly. Sakura watched a little afraid of what might happen from her seat a row above Sasuke. If they decided to fight, she wouldn't be able to stop them. Come on Naruto, Sasuke just meant that your skills are unknown. Sakura tried valiantly to stop the melee that was soon to come. No, I meant exactly what I said, he is a loser. Sasuke said harshly. You want to prove I'm dead last, pretty boy, or are you afraid you're gonna break a nail? Naruto answered smiling. His blue orbs locked on Sasuke's dark black ones, waiting for him to make a move. Sakura noticed the subtle signs of muscles tensing in preparation to strike in Sasuke's body. But before he could attack, the door opened, letting in a silver-haired man with a ninja mask covering the bottom portion of his face and his forehead protector covering his left eye. He stood in the doorway for a moment before saying, well, I can tell you three are going to be a handful already. The new Team 7 candidates were now currently on the roof of the academy. The silver-haired man cleared his throat before speaking. Well, since we might be a team, why don't we learn a little bit about each other? You can just stick with the basics like name, likes, dislikes, hobbies, and future goals or dreams. Can you go first, sensei, to show us how? Sakura asked. Me? Sure, my name is Hatake Kakashi. I'm the kind of guy who doesn't talk about his likes or dislikes. My dreams for the future are really none of your business, and well, I have a lot of hobbies. Naruto voiced the genin's thoughts. Wow, that was an annoying way to tell us your name. Well, how about you next since you volunteered? Kakashi said, ignoring the sarcastic reply. Let's see, I'm Uzumaki Naruto. My likes, dislikes, hobbies, and dreams don't really matter. Since none of you never really cared to find out before, you obviously don't care now. Just like how I could really give a damn about what any of you say about yourselves. If you want to get to know me, then get to know me. I'm not going to just confess everything to you. Naruto stopped, signifying he was done. Whoa, I didn't know Naruto was such a mystery. All I really know is that he was really nice when I went to his birthday party a few years ago. And that he had a really nice mom. Sakura was now curious of Naruto. Since she basically knew everything about Sasuke, she might as well get to know Naruto now. I wonder if he's really a dobi. I have never really seen him fight before, so I can't be sure. Maybe he'll be a worthy opponent. The curiosity seemed to leak to Sasuke as well. The boy has basically shut himself off from others with no desire to seek out companionship. I know he still has a couple of people he considers family, but her death really did almost break him. Not really sure what to do with this one. Judging by the sword, he must prefer it to hand-to-hand combat. As for ninja techniques, the rumor that he was able to copy and use the Kage Bunshin after seeing Mizuki perform it once in the heat of battle shows he has potential in ninjutsu, but not sure where chakra control stands. How about the young lady next? His one eye locking on her. Oh, well, I'm Haruno Sakura. My likes are. Looks at Sasuke and blushes. My dream as well. Looks towards Sasuke again and blushes even deeper while giggling. And I dislike Ino Pig. Humph, she's annoying. Sasuke didn't even respond to the obvious display of affection. Well, can't really say I'm surprised. Fucking harpy. Yelling in my ear. Naruto didn't really give a shit about the girl, but his ears were still ringing from her scream. A fangirl if I ever saw one. Low chakra balanced out by high control. Very minimal physical conditioning. Most likely knows absolutely nothing beyond basics. I wonder if I should break her slowly or just crush it out of her fast and without mercy. Either way, I'm going to have to build her basically from scratch. And last but certainly not least, if his title holds true. Kakashi said, looking toward his final member. A title is just a title. Naruto mumbled loud enough for everyone to hear. Uchiha Sasuke. There is almost nothing I like and almost everything else I dislike. I have no dreams. I will restore my clan and kill someone I truly hate. Sasuke is so cool. The girl had a starry look in her eyes as she stared at him. And people think I have issues. Naruto was bored. He could care less about this guy's pity party. I thought so. Most likely training himself in Uchiha combat methods, although how good he is at them I can only guess till testing him fully. Kakashi thought. Sensei. The girl's voice broke him from his train of thought. When you said a little while ago we might be a team, what did you mean? He chuckled. Nothing, just that the test you have to take to be my team has a 66% of failure. Here, he handed them each a sheet of paper. On those papers are the details of where the test will be. Oh, and I wouldn't eat breakfast if I were you, you'll puke. With that he was gone in a cloud of smoke. Early the next day we find the two kids waiting for their Junin instructor to show up. I wonder where Naruto is. He is an hour late along with Kakashi-sensei. Sakura sat under a tree rubbing her aching stomach. Idiot, probably got lost, Sasuke said from his seat in a tree trying to ignore his own hunger. Boo. Eek. Naruto had somehow got behind Sakura without the girl or Sasuke noticing. Sakura jumped in the air and practically out of her skin, landing a few feet away only to turn to Naruto rolling on the ground laughing. And where have you been, Naruto? She screamed at him, rage getting the best of her. Getting up he only raised an eyebrow. That's none of your damn business, now is it? Sakura's rage was replaced by fear in seconds. She could faintly smell sown incense. What would he? Then it hit her. He was visiting his mother's grave. She didn't know what to say, but luckily she didn't have to. So I guess you guys still waiting for Cyclops? Naruto said, taking a seat under the tree. Yay, he still hasn't shown up yet. Sakura answered, carefully taking a seat near but not too close to Naruto. This guy better show up soon. Sasuke said from the tree branch. Naruto's not as bad as I thought he was. To be able to get past both of us. What are you hiding? And with that they waited. And waited. And waited. Then after 2 more hours their sensei walked into the clearing only to receive a massive amount of killing intent from the genin. Impressive, but not enough. Setting a clock OA's stump and setting it, Kakashi started to explain. I have just set this alarm for noon. He pulled out 2 bells, holding them out in front of him. Your task is to take one of these bells from me before the timer sounds. Anyone that fails gets tied to those stumps with no lunch. Unfortunately it seems I forgot not to eat my light breakfast before this exercise. Naruto almost smiled but decided not to give it away. Kakashi continued. All you need is 1. But there are only 2, so no matter what, one of you gets no lunch. That person will be the first to fail and will go back to the academy as a disgrace. We will begin on my mark, but I'll give you a hint first. You won't get a bell without the intent to kill. But that's dangerous, Kakashi-sensei. Sakura blurted out only to be ignored when Kakashi began his count. 3. They realized he wasn't kidding. 2. Each student tensed in preparation. Begin. The students retreated to plan and wait, while the teacher was left standing in the clearing alone. Or so he thought. Naruto stood there in the same spot unmoved. He just stood there looking at Kakashi as if sizing him up. Kakashi didn't want to let his guard down around this one just yet. Naruto was still too unpredictable for cockiness. You know, it is not very smart to confront me head on. Kakashi said. He could sense something off about this. Look underneath the underneath. Kakashi's answer came in the drawn-out sound of a sword being unsheathed. He is trying to unnerve me. Basic psychology. When Yamato was drawn, Naruto pointed the blade at Kakashi. Then he made his move. Naruto seemed to glide across the ground, his coat fluttering behind him and his sword ready to strike. Streak, Naruto thought, swinging his sword in a wide arc horizontally with all his might. Only for Kakashi to stop the blade by catching it between his bare hands. Kakashi pulled Naruto off balance before breaking the blade's tip off and stabbing him with it. The Naruto went up in smoke. You're going to have to do better than that, Naruto. I've trained with Hayate as well. Kakashi called out into the forest surrounding them. Just what are you planning? The 2 genin still hiding in the surrounding foliage both had the same thought. That was a clone? And it was solid? Where did he learn that? Kakashi didn't have to wait long. 5 more Narutos soon surrounded him. They ran around Kakashi in a star formation. They waited for the right moment and each one slashed their sword for another streak attack. Kakashi kicked two in the face, and using them as stepping stools, jumped high into the air. Kakashi didn't expect two to follow him into the air using the momentum from a vertical sword slash. High Roller, following Kakashi, they began their next attack, Aerial Rave, their swords blurred as the blades danced around their wielder with impressive speed. Kakashi used one Naruto to take an attack for him, it instantly dispersed. Split, landing on the ground, he quickly had to move or risk being cut down the middle by the Naruto in the air. Then Kakashi had to dodge to the side not to be impaled. A Naruto rushed past him, stabbing his own clone. As it disappeared in a burst of smoke, the original just stood there in a defensive stance. You still have work to do if you plan on mastering the Kage Bunshin. But I must say the way you used it to probe my defenses while waiting for an opening is slightly impressive, taking into consideration you just learned this technique. But I'm afraid I must end this as I have other students to test. With that, Kakashi disappeared in blinding speed. Reappearing behind Naruto with his hands in a seal, he attacked Senin Garashi. Kakashi then used his Tiger Seal to violently poke Naruto in the rear. Only for that Naruto to disappear as well. So, they were all clones. That one has potential. Now what about the other ones? A rain of shuriken and kunai hit Kakashi head-on. His image was then engulfed in smoke, revealing a log. Kakashi, from his safe hiding place, watched as the Rookie of the Year tried to change position. So that's where you're hiding. It is foolish to give away your position, even if you did think my guard was down. Kakashi jumped from his hiding area on the hunt. Our young Kunoichi was desperately trying to find Sasuke. But she didn't find who she was searching for. She barely had enough time to hide herself when Kakashi glacked in her direction. His gaze lingered for a moment, before shifting back to the book he was reading. Good, he hasn't noticed me. Pissed Sakura. What? Sakura spun around to come face to face with Kakashi. He stared her in the eye, speaking calmly. Megan. Narukumi no Jutsu. Leaves then spun around him and soon engulfed her as well. She was then back in a clearing. Huh, what happened? Where'd Kakashi-sensei go? She thought, looking around frantically. Sakura? She knew that voice. Sasu? She turned to a sight that made her blood run cold. Sasuke was leaning against a tree covered in his own blood. He was full of kunai and shuriken, blood still leaking from the wounds. His left arm and right leg were missing completely, leaving stumps in their places. His left leg was bent at an unnatural angle and already swelling. Then it got worse. Naruto walked into the clearing and grabbed Sasuke by the neck and lifted him off the ground. Sakura, help me. Sasuke managed to choke out along with some blood. Naruto viciously stabbed him as soon as the words left his mouth. As Naruto tore the blade out, he dropped Sasuke. Blood ran freely from the stab as Sasuke's eyes begged for help. And with a flick of his wrist, Yamato decapitated Sasuke. The body fell into its own blood. The head rolled up to Sakura, fixing its glassy eyes on her. Naruto's gaze locked on her, then trailed up and down her body. She felt a shiver race down her spine when she saw his eyes. Those ice-cold eyes were filled with lust. I think I'll have some fun with you first, he said, walking forward. As he approached, she did the only thing she could think of. She screamed and passed out. Kakashi watched the whole thing from his perch in a tree. Maybe too much, but it is only a simple genjutsu. Sasuke had just finished setting his traps when he heard Sakura's scream. That scream sounded like a person begging for death. Even though she was annoying as all hell, he kind of felt sorry for her. Don't worry about your little girlfriend Sasuke, she only got caught in a genjutsu. Kakashi spoke, leaning against a tree. Sasuke had to make something absolutely clear. She is not my girlfriend. It came out rather undignified, yes, but he didn't want to take time and let Kakashi assume the wrong answer. Kakashi chuckled. If you are going to rebuild your clan, you're going to have to find a wife. And from what I've seen so far, she obviously likes you. And if you need any ideas, I might actually feel generous to let you borrow my Icha paradise. Kakashi then showed a rather interesting and graphic illustration from his book. Sasuke had to pinch his nose to keep the blood from rushing out. Enough, he shouted, full of rage. I'm not like them. You can say that after you have gotten a bell, little Uchiha. Kakashi said, putting away his book. Sasuke threw a few shuriken, but Kakashi dodged to the left, only to fall into a trap. The shuriken Sasuke had thrown had cut through a wire, launching multiple kunai at Kakashi's current position. Again Kakashi dodged, only to be met by Sasuke's sneak attack. Sasuke attacked blow after blow, but none of his attacks were able to break through Kakashi's defense. However, Sasuke's attacks had left an opening to reach for the bells. But Kakashi saw it coming. It was obvious. Kakashi was analyzing his skills as the fight raged on. Taijutsu is decent and creative, but still lacking. Preparation skills are good but not thorough enough. I'll admit you are good, but you're not great. Your skills are still lacking. When Sasuke started seals, Kakashi knew what attack was coming even without his Sharingan. Gukaku no Jutsu. He was underground before the attack could singe him. When the fire and smoke cleared, Sasuke saw nothing. What he could have dodged, whereas he above, behind, left, right. He felt something grab his foot. Under your nose, little Uchiha. Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu. Sasuke was then pulled underneath. He now gazed up to Kakashi. Your ninjutsu isn't bad either, but it's not enough to match up to me. Kakashi walked away. I'll be waiting back at the starting point if you want a rematch, but you might want to hurry up and dig yourself out first. As soon as Kakashi left, Naruto walked up carrying Sakura bridal style. Sakura came to, but when she saw who was carrying her, she passed out again. Damn, that's the 4th time that happened. And it's really starting to annoy me, Naruto said, putting her down and turning towards the Uchiha. You look ahead of the situation, Naruto joked. Sasuke merely glared at him. Look, I'll make you a deal. I'll dig you out of your hole and all you have to do is help me get the bells. Of course, if you like playing in the dirt, I'm not going to stop you. Sasuke didn't answer for a while, but when Naruto moved to leave, the Uchiha caved. So you got a plan? Sasuke asked, brushing some dirt off of his shirt. Sakura was strangely quiet now that she was fully awake. After Naruto threatened to hurt her if she passed out again, she just sat there not moving or talking. A plan? Fuck that. We go, we beat the shit out of him, and we get bells. At Sasuke and Sakura's deadpanned look, Naruto sighed. Look, if you guys want a plan, fine, we'll wing it. Make it up as you go along. Take turns attacking, hit hard, cover one another's attacks, and don't get in my way. Yay, that should do it. Now hurry up, he said, walking away. At his command, Sakura instantly got up and followed. Sasuke mumbled something under his breath but reluctantly followed as well. Kakashi could feel their chakra signatures getting closer. He put his book away. So they managed to put away their differences and take a last stand. Not bad, I didn't think they would get it. A dark blur jumped over the clearing, sending out a huge fireball. So Sasuke is long-range support using ninjutsu. Kakashi jumped out of the way, letting the fireball explode in front of him, but had to keep on the move with weapons raining down on him. And weapons are used to conserve chakra while giving enough time to perform more ninjutsu. A few more fireballs and plenty more weapons followed. The others must have also lent him their weapons. Sasuke landed and, having used up all his weapons, sent one last fireball before his legs gave out on him. Mikazuki no Mai. Naruto style. Multiple copies of Naruto surrounded Kakashi. So Naruto is at point, but this is Hayate's move and I know how to block it. Waiting till the last minute, Kakashi spun around, catching Naruto's blade in his hands. Hayate trained you well, but your attack is much weaker than his. Naruto just smiled and answered. Who said it was supposed to be as fast as his? Didn't you hear? This is my version. The other Narutos that had surrounded him struck. He hid shadow clones in the shadow of his illusional movement. I'm now thoroughly impressed. All the attacks hit Kakashi, turning him into a pincushion before the man just burst into smoke. Naruto fell to the ground, sweating and breathing heavily. You bastard, you had a substitute made just in case. Kakashi nodded. While that is a very impressive technique, it should only be used as a sure kill on a trapped opponent. It's too easy to dodge if prepared. And the strain it puts you, though, to use the illusion and make clones in the shadow doesn't allow you to press the attack. Nonetheless, very impressive. Pushing himself up, Naruto took 2 unsteady steps to Kakashi before he stumbled and fell down face first, his hand inches away from the bells. Naruto's hand clenched in anger. He was so close, but his body just gave out. He was still conscious, but he couldn't move. Now where is the third one? Wait. He didn't hear the slight chime when he moved. Turning around he saw Sakura holding the two bells. She just stared at Kakashi nervously. Then Kakashi did something none of the genin expected, he laughed. When he finally stopped he answered the confused looks on the three's faces. Naruto and Sasuke having found the energy to pull themselves into a sitting position. Excellent, you all pass. There is way too much potential here to waste on someone else. Besides, I've been bored as hell ever since I retired from the Anbu. And since you are all already warmed up, we'll stop for a lunch break and start training immediately. But before we begin, I'm sure you're all wondering what the point of the test was. He walked over to the stone a few feet away. You will find a time when you will have to choose the mission or a teammate. My family, friends, and even loved ones' names are all carved into this stone. They were all killed in action. To abandon your mission does make you a failure, but to abandon your teammates make you even worse than that. Now eat, you're going to need all the energy you can get. They didn't know how long they had went through the agonizing torture called training. Even Naruto would be exhausted even with his amazing stamina. Of course, the fact that his tasks seem harder and he trained after Kakashi was done with them might be reasons as well. Kakashi may seem laid back, but he was a monstrous taskmaster. The guy said he was once in the Anbu, a captain no less, and with the training he put the genin through they believed him. He gave them each numerous tasks to do, each unique to the others, and all before he even showed up. Then when he finally got there he would pile on more training tasks that pushed you to your limits. All the while he would lecture on things from team attacking to self-scouting, and you couldn't ignore him, cause he would ask questions to make sure you were listening. It was drilled into them from the start. Then after each training session they'd do a mission or maybe several. This was Kakashi world, his word was law, you disobey and you'd suffer. Enough. At that the three genin fell to the ground, exhausted. They had finally finished. This specific task involved them using chakra control to stick a leaf to their forehead while also sticking to a tree upside down, doing full sit-ups with legs extended straight out, then switching to sticking to the tree with hands and doing pull-ups with legs at a 90-degree angle. All with random pauses to where they didn't move, just hold the chakra control steady. Good work, team. That's all for today. I'm going to see if I can get us AC ranked mission. Kakashi then walked off. They would have sighed in relief if they didn't know Kakashi had godlike hearing. And the results of training were nothing to scoff at. Sakura had had the most trouble at the beginning, but she slowly was able to start keeping up. Her low, nearly pathetic chakra levels had jumped to standard levels of where a kunoichi's should be, and she still retained her excellent control. She didn't quite have a role yet, but she knew the basics of all three ninja areas. Sasuke chakra did not have the colossal leap Sakura's did, but his reserves were larger along with the added control. He leaned toward ninjutsu and taijutsu areas, each focusing his unique Uchiha-style combat. Naruto's chakra didn't jump because of his already amazing reserve, but his control soared, it being his main focus in training. While Sasuke and Sakura didn't know his strength exactly, they knew he was not someone they wanted as an enemy. Naruto mainly used his katana. Yamato, they believe he called it, in battle with very few ninjutsu and genjutsu. But just because they were few didn't mean they weren't powerful and constantly being used and mastered in new ways. They would also see him move as if to use his bandaged arm, but they never did. His arm was as much a mystery as Kakashi's face. As Naruto rested, he thought back to the second vision he had. Naruto had almost forgot about the strange visions. The only one that had occurred was when he graduated the academy. The strange woman said they would happen more often. And here he was again. But he was somewhere else this time. This time he was in a large room. Numerous detailed markings covered the walls, ceiling, and a platform in the middle of the room. The same two guys from his last dream were here as well, in battle again. While their swordsmanship was still better than Naruto's, Naruto was catching up. As they fought, their blood from wounds seemed to be absorbed into the ancient runes beneath their feet. The blood continued to come. Each one gave the other in wound for wound. It was impossible to tell who was winning. "So, you feel like coming out?" Naruto said out loud into the room. The mysterious woman from his last dream materialized from the shadows, walking up to him with a slight sway in her hips. "Your devil powers have grown from our last meeting. I must say your rate of growth is astounding. I'm able to find your signature easier now. As we speak, I'm currently tracking you down." Naruto tensed. "Why are you tracking me? Better yet, who are you and why do you care?" Naruto was surprised when she bowed deeply and knelt in front of him. I am a servant to Sparta's heirs. I have not sensed a worthy heir for years. Forgive me, my young master, I am known as Trish. I am a guide of sorts for young ones of Sparta's blood. I am tracking you to help you develop into your full devil heritage. She didn't move from her position and spoke with her head down. Naruto was not used to people coming out of nowhere and just pledging allegiance to him. He responded in the only way he could think of. Get up, I haven't done anything for you to kneel to me. The woman now known as Trish seemed surprised with his response, but rose anyway. The room then darkened like the last time. What, time's up already? Naruto asked. He looked over to Trish warily. The memory of how he was sent out from the vision last time still fresh in his mind. Trish shook her head. No master, merely a change. Watch, for a new battle is beginning. She turned to the blackness that was now forming something else. The scene formed before them. Instead of the room full of seals, they were now in some kind of water area with crystal-like pillars around them. The man in red just blocked a strike from an insectoid-like demon with a claymore-like blade. Behold the form of Sparta, young master. Trish said. What do you mean the form? Naruto questioned. Is he that Sparta guy or not? The demon then mutated into a formless blob-like creature. That is not the true Sparta. Nor is he of Sparta's bloodline. Therefore he cannot harness or control the blade he holds in his grasp. He is only turned into his inner darkness. They both watched as the battle raged between the man in red and the blob. Even though the man in red was clearly stronger, his cockiness cost him. A strike lashed out and would have got him if it weren't for the man in blue's intervention. The two working together in battle instead of fighting each other was an amazing sight. Every move was backed up on instinct. Neither of them communicated, they just reacted to one another. The blob was powerless against their onslaught. Even though the blob blocked them from their signature weapons, they only used the other's weapon just as efficiently. And with one final blast of demonic power they finished the blob. Everything then darkened again. Now we are out of time, young master. Return and think about what has been shown to you. Trish faded from view and Naruto found himself looking at the ceiling of his apartment. Hey Naruto. Naruto was brought out of his memory by the pink-haired girl. Hey, you there? I've been trying to get to you. Kakashi-sensei managed to get us a C-ranked mission, but we have to catch that damn cat again. He said the Fire Lord's wife personally requested us for the mission since we get it back so fast. She started walking off behind an already moving Sasuke. Naruto growled. Fucking cat. I wanted to kill it the 5th time, but no, that's against the rules. Fuck rules, that the thing needs to die. Still grumbling, Naruto followed. Had to run. Had to hide. They can't find me. I won't go back, not again. The small form raced through the dense forestry. He heard the small sounds of rustling in the distance. He could smell the faint sense of the followers. The shifting winds he felt told him they were getting closer. He had to hide before they caught up to him. There, he spotted a large thorn bush at the far side of a clearing. It would provide perfect cover for him. His followers' scents were closer now. He had to make it. He used every bit of energy he had to dart across the open area. With a powerful spring, he dove to make it before his pursuers caught up to him. I'm gonna make it, he thought with glee. URKK, that is before a strong grip grabbed him out of the air by the scruff of his neck. No, let me go. I won't go back. Never. The small cat struggled defiantly, but it couldn't get out of the grip. Scratching, flailing, and hissing with all his might, but he just couldn't break free. Come on, I'll even make it clean and quick, which is more than this damn thing deserves. We'll tell her it got killed by wild dogs, or something. She'll get over it. Hell, I'm pretty damn sure she can just get a new one. No, not him. Anyone but him. The cat turned slightly to see the person holding him. No, if the cat could have cried, it would have broke down right then and there. Holding him was none other than the silver-haired one. All hope of escape vanished. He stopped his struggling when the boy's icy blue eyes locked onto him. The boy's bandaged hand tightened painfully on his scruff of skin. He could feel tendrils of invisible energy slowly wrap around his neck. His death was imminent. No, Naruto, an exasperated voice spoke from his earpiece. Target is to be brought back safely and intact. Is identity confirmed? The cat slouched in relief as the dark-haired one checked him. Yay, identity is confirmed. Tiger, cat of the Fire Lord's wife. The cat relaxed even further as the gentle pink-haired one came to take him from the evil silver-haired one's grasp. If a cat could look smug, this one sure would be doing a good job. Before the pink one could reach him, he was slammed into a nearby tree hard enough for wind to leave his lungs and his ribs to ache. Followed by a fist cracking the wood next to his head. Naruto stared at him hatefully. His blue eyes revealed his annoyance and anger. The cat could even see faint traces of red bleeding into his eyes. Tiger could feel the dark energy of Naruto's arm tighten around his neck. The malice was so strong. Was he going to die here? He went limp and was then tossed to the gentle pink-haired one. Take the damn thing. If I carry it, it'll be dead before we make it 10 feet. Naruto said, struggling to control his anger. He was barely able to keep himself from turning the cat's mind into mush with concentrated killing intent. He could feel his devil bringer tremble as if wanting to crush the cat itself. Are you okay, Naruto? Tiger got you pretty good with his claws. Sakura said, looking at his right arm, catching a faint hint of blue under the coat. I'm fine. Let's go. The faster we get done, the faster we can get our C-rank mission. None of the genin voiced it, but they were all excited for the higher rank mission. Protecting someone from bandits, thieves, maybe even a few lesser demons. They were all eager to test what they learned. Naruto may not have been able to kill the cat, but watching it mercilessly smothered with deadly affection was an added bonus. Though he would still like to kill it or even maim it horribly, either would do just fine. As the lady went to pay for the efforts of their hard work, the Hokage addressed them. Now other open D-ranked missions we have include babysitting, delivering groceries, gardening. A lady's scream was heard along with the papers being scattered and scrambling of feet. And catching the fire lady's cat, again. Fuck no. I did not just waste an hour catching it for the damn thing to run away in less than 5 fucking minutes. Naruto was already stomping out the door. Remember Naruto, intact? Kakashi called out behind him. The jonin was answered by the distant scream of, "Here kitty kitty, come out and play." It was followed by a cat's screech, trees falling, a distant thunk sound of a sword being stuck in a tree, and then total silence. He wouldn't hurt my dear tiger, would he? The fire lady asked. Actually, I'd be surprised if the cat came back alive or in one piece for that matter. Kakashi said with his nose in his book. The fire lady's eyes started to tear up. Wait, did I say in that? She looked up hopefully. You might not even get anything to bury when Naruto's done. Kakashi stopped when he saw Naruto carry in the cat, or what used to be a cat. The fur that was a lush orange was now stark white, as if seeing severe trauma. Its eyes were wide and glossy, and the only movement it showed was a shudder every once in a while. Naruto walked up to the fire lady and dropped the dead-looking animal into her arms. Don't worry, me and him just had a nice little heart-to-heart chat. And I don't think he'll be running away anytime soon, if ever. Isn't that right, kitty? The cat just shuddered in his owner's arms, before going completely limp. The cat wasn't dead, but it wasn't totally alive either. Naruto walked back to his team with a smile on his face. Kakashi noticed two ruffled bandages, as if they were wrapped in a hurry. I think I feel kind of sorry for the cat, on second thought. I guess it had it coming. Hokage-sama, Kakashi said to the aged leader. I had reserved a C-ranked mission for my team. The Hokage thought for a second. Ah yes. Turning to the door he said. You can come in now. The genin were filled with excitement. Who would they be guarding? A negotiator, a lord, a princess? In walked in a gritty old man with a bottle of newly bought sake in his hand, already half empty. What? I paid good money for 3 kids and a random guy with one eye. And is silver the new look, or are you just trying to copy your teacher, Shrimp? Naruto slowly drew Yamato. What was that, old man, a death wish? Well, I've been kind of busy, but I think I can help you out. Before the boy could advance, Kakashi grabbed him. The boy grumbled while sheathing Yamato and muttered under his breath. As if I'm a pervert like him, that's insulting. Kakashi ignored the slight jab to his ego. No Naruto, it would be bad for business if you killed a client. Of course, if he finds it alright to insult my students, maybe I should let him see how dangerous you 3 are. Kakashi said, eyeing the old man. The old man spoke strong, but the ninja could tell he was nervous. I'm the great bridge builder, Tazuna. I paid good money for you to guide me safely to my home, and I expect you to protect me with your lives. We leave in the morning. The students were handed their papers detailing the mission, and left to pack and rest for their trip to the land of waves. Naruto turned his shower off and stepped out. Grabbing a towel and wrapping it around his waist, he walked up to the mirror. After wiping the mist from it, he just looked at himself. He was slim, but years of working himself into the ground had packed defined muscle on his body. He had deep blue eyes with whisker-like birthmarks, and the intricate seal on his stomach signified him as the container of the Kyuubi. He was kind of glad the old man told him about it after her death. His silver hair was still wet and nearly fell to his shoulders. It never did ever spike like it did when it was blonde, so he always wore it down. And finally his right, devil bringer, arm. He dubbed it dark reddish armor with glowing light blue skin beneath. It was his entire right arm, beginning at the hand and ending at the shoulder. Bum bum. His body pulsed with energy. He grasped the counter as pain shot through his body. Erg. He grabbed his devil bringer as it started to spasm uncontrollably. His heartbeat raced as the devil bringer's armor started to climb further onto his body. It slowly crawled up his neck and onto his chest, leaving the skin under the red armor with a slight blue glow that, while noticeable, wasn't as strong a glow as his devil bringer itself. Bum bum. The pulse was stronger the second time. What's happening? His voice became deeper and seemed to echo as if spoken by two people. Looking up at the mirror, he saw his right eye was glowing a deep blood red and his canines and whisker marks looked more pronounced. Then his body started to give off a deep blue aura. The aura slowly started to get stronger as it swirled around him, trying to take on a faint form, but before it could manifest, everything stopped. He fell to the ground suddenly exhausted. He could feel and see the devil bringer receding along with the blue aura. Mustering the energy to push himself off the floor, he looked into the mirror again. He looked the same as when he came out the shower. What the hell was that? He stumbled out of the bathroom and was barely able to slip on boxers before he passed out in his bed. A man silently observed everything that happened in the apartment from a tree outside. He had on a black shirt, pants, gloves and boots with a large red trench coat over them. He had messy silver hair and on his back was a broadsword with a screaming skull design on the guard. Neither me nor Virgil developed at such a rate. I'm going to have to watch this one closely. He then disappeared in a blur of red. He stood ankle deep in water. He was standing in a river that ran off into darkness. So, where the hell am I now? He asked Trish, who was already there. She laughed at his question. Did I say something funny? He asked, annoyed. He didn't like being laughed at. No, master, just ironic. This is the portal to hell. She whispered in his ear, wrapping her arms around his neck. He could feel certain female attributes press into his back. She just was there. No teleportation, no high-speed movement, just there. How did you do that? He asked stiffly. I am your guardian master. As guardian I explain your powers whether normally or through the dreams. Trish seemed comfortable where she was since she didn't show any signs of moving. Naruto was used to her, just not this close. So you control the dreams? No, master, the dreams are their own. I can guide them, but my influence is limited. Now watch, this one is important considering your devil form is starting to manifest. She still didn't move, but she didn't give off any ill intent, so he just left her where she was. How did she know what happened? But more importantly, I'm becoming a devil? He watched as the two brothers appeared and started to fight. This was unlike all the other battles where he had only caught the end. They started slow testing each other's defenses, but soon they were going all out. This battle surpassed the others by far. Their speed and power were immense. Not one move was wasted. They were at a stalemate the entire time. As they increased the pace of battle, Naruto found it more and more difficult to follow their movements. After he thought he had seen everything they had to offer, he was left dumbfounded. As if reaching a silent decision, they both exploded with power, taking on different, more demonic forms. Their forms were opposites, even taking on their color of choice. The red one had sharp horns pointing downward with two wings on his back. The blue demon had dull horns pointing upwards in a V-shape with four wings on his back and a sheath on his right arm. Naruto could barely keep up with their movements now, they were everywhere. They moved at such speed that they left after images in their wake. The only time he saw them clearly is when they clashed in explosions of red and blue energy. The red one wielded a broadsword. The blue one wielded a katana. Yamato. The blue one was using his sword. The man 10 years ago, it was him. As soon as he realized it, the two demonic forms disappeared. It seems you've realized what the dreams were trying to show you. They are no longer needed. Trish said, finally letting him go. Wait, that's all the dreams are going to show me? He said, turning to face her. The dreams will come back, but for now they have fulfilled their purpose. Alright, so I'm going to turn into something like they were? That idea scared Naruto. He could handle being a demon, even a devil, but would he lose himself? Would he still be the same? You may, or you may not. The form, or devil trigger, is different for everyone of demonic descent. You looked troubled, master. Why? Trish was puzzled. To bring out one's devil trigger form at such a young age was a sign of great power. I'm just wondering what I will become. Will I stay like that, or will I be able to control it like those guys? By the way, who are those guys? I keep seeing them, but you never told me who they were. He needed more answers. You still have not fully developed. Your body is adapting to handle the change to you devil form. As for the two sons of Sparta, the red one is Dante and the blue one is Virgil. Trish then started to become transparent. Time's up, my master, but I am almost to your current location. I will be with you very soon. With that, she faded from view as Naruto drifted into a dreamless sleep. Trish was about to resume her run, but sensed a familiar energy. Nice to see you again, Dante. The man known as Dante appeared in a blur of red, landing softly on the ground. You look well, Trish. Still protecting decedents, I see. Someone must keep the line of your line alive. Which is more than I can say about you. A son of Sparta whose powers have surpassed Sparta's own and closed himself off from the world. Trish, this isn't my world, anymore. He said, looking up to the moon. Watch the kid carefully. The demons and devils are gathering, appearing more often. I can feel something big coming, and we all have our roles, even me. He answered, still staring into the moon. What do you know, Dante? Trish knew Dante, and he was never like this unless something bad was going to happen. You just do your part and train the kid, and I'll do mine. He phased out in a blur of red energy. Trish took off at top speed. Just what is going on? Why are the demons gathering? And how does it involve the new master? Naruto woke up feeling great, still mostly asleep, but great anyway. The sun was just rising outside. The cold morning air drifted over him, and in response he snuggled closer to the warmth behind him, his head going in between two pillows. Wait, since when do I have two pillows? He wondered, becoming more awake by the second. He had just moved into something warm and moving. He felt hot breath in his ear that sent a shiver down his spine. He also felt two arms tighten around him, not knowing how he missed them in the first place. Good morning, master. He bolted out of his bed, grabbing Yamato nearby, and turned to see Trish. The woman was lounging in his bed with one of his bigger shirts on, barely covering anything. She stretched, and Naruto couldn't help but stare at rather interesting movements of her female anatomy. But, how? Naruto couldn't get out much more than that. His brain was still trying to process all that was happening. Why, master, didn't I tell you, I had found you? She slid out of the bed and walked over to Naruto. She circled him, studying everything about him. He blushed under her stare, finally realizing he was still in his boxers. I must say, your power is so unusual. It will stably grow one instant, while at other times it will jump dramatically. Naruto's brain had finally started working again. Shit, I got a mission. How am I going to explain you? He started pacing around the room. Don't worry, master. We'll be fine. Where is he? He knows the mission is today. Even Kakashi-sensei is on time. Sakura ranted. Team 7, besides Naruto and Tazuna, were right outside the village gate. Kakashi had his nose buried in his favorite orange book. Sasuke leaned against a tree, obviously angry the mission was being held up. Where is that silver-haired munchkin? We're wasting time. Tazuna wasn't the most patient of people either. Closing his book with a loud snap, Kakashi looked into the village. He's coming, and it seems he's brought a friend along. Everyone looked in the direction Kakashi was facing to see Naruto and the person behind him closing the distance between them. Each one had the same thing in mind. Who is she? And why is she with Naruto? Kakashi was the most curious though. From Naruto's file, he had no family left, and he isn't the kind of person to go out and make friends. The only ones he still willingly associated with were the people who ran the Ichiraku ramen bar, the Hokage's grandson, and the Hokage himself. Could this be an enemy ninja? Naruto is a very powerful individual. His current growth was nothing short of spectacular. Maybe another village realized this and wants him for their self. He also knew about Naruto's secret, labeled as a bloodline limit, since there was no other way to explain it. When they finally stopped in front of Kakashi, Naruto introduced them. Team 7, this is Trish, and Trish, this is Team 7 in our charge, he said while motioning to them. Look, Kakashi-sensei, this may seem a little strange, but… He was cut off by Kakashi, who went from carefree to all business. Team 7 triangle formation around Tazuna and begin walking. When Naruto moved to protest, his voice came out more forceful. Now, the three genins silently moved into formation and began down the road. Kakashi then turned to the mysterious newcomer. He inspected her quickly. Her cheongsam revealed that while she may not be a ninja, she was surely a fighter. The defined muscles and way the dress was made for easier movement gave it away. He decided to cut to the chase. Are you a threat to my students? If you are, I will kill you myself. If she was intimidated by him, she sure didn't show it. She didn't even bat an eyelash as he spiked his killing intent at her. When she spoke, she was calm and collected. I'm merely here for the young master, or Naruto. I am no danger, nor will I hold you back. They stared at each other for a moment, then a silent agreement was made as they both walked to follow Team 7. I knew having a team would be a pain, but no, I had to pass them because of their alarming potential. Kakashi let out a deep sigh and took out his precious orange book. Should we attack? One man said to another from his hiding place. No, we'll ambush them later. Don't you see the demons up ahead? Better to not get involved in the crossfire and attack while they're weak. The two men ran off, making as little noise as possible. They didn't see Trish's slight frown and Kakashi looking up from his book at their hiding place as they left. The sound of mindless laughter rang out from around them. Everyone was instantly alert. The genin circled Tazuna with Kakashi at point a few feet in front of them and Trish behind them. Scarecrows. They are weak alone but strong in units. I think you guys can handle them, Kakashi said, not looking up from his book. Attack with no mercy, they sure won't give you any. Hideous jester-like monsters stumbled onto the road. They had huge scythe blades in the place of an arm or leg. They hesitated for a moment when they saw Naruto but attacked anyway. The genin, hardened from their intense training, tore though the weak lesser demons like paper. Sakura threw weapons to take out most of them from a distance, and any one of them unlucky enough to get close to her were slammed by a fist that could put a sledgehammer to shame. Sasuke weaved in and out of attacks with two kunai stabbing and slashing. The scarecrows that missed the Uchiha found their weapons embedded in one of their own. Naruto just carved a bloody path of destruction with Yamato. The demonic blade danced around him, cutting though enemies effortlessly. Naruto could feel adrenaline rushing though him and his heartbeat in his ears. His movements slowly became more and more brutal. He wanted them to suffer. Red slowly started to seep into his eyes, making them the color of blood. These lowly demons thought they could stand up to him? He would crush every last one of them. Sword strokes that could cut, though the demons with little effort started to smash them into them with brute force. Elegant slashes that killed in one stroke became brutal butchering that tore up the enemy, letting them suffer. Naruto walked up slowly to the last scarecrow, all the others being wiped out. He raised Yamato high into the air and brought him crashing down on it again and again before stabbing the monster into the ground and ripping it out, sending the monster flying a few feet away. The scarecrow writhed in pain. Only then did Naruto come to his senses as he watched the monster bleed to death on the ground from numerous jagged gashes. He could still feel the power calling for more blood and the happiness from causing the creature pain. It made him sick. Yes, he hated them, but that didn't mean he wanted to become a mindless killer like them. He turned to see the others. Kakashi hadn't moved his nose from that book, but Naruto had no doubt that he had saw the whole thing. Sakura looked at him as if awed by his brutality. Sasuke saw a challenge. The Uchiha had finally realized the so-called dead last wasn't as weak as others made him out to be. And Trish just studied him. She was doing that much too often for his taste. Well, you guys coming or not? Naruto didn't care if they feared him or not, but he did want to do this mission. About a mile up ahead, the group passed by a small puddle on the side of the road. This would not have been suspicious if it had not rained in several days. The only one who missed it was Tazuna. Kakashi's training had the genin aware of their surroundings at all times. Two men with horned headbands and water masks rose out of the water and went after the biggest threat first. The Jonin of Konoha was torn to shreds by their spiked chain. None of the genin seemed to care. They knew that attack couldn't take the Kakashi down. Sakura moved to guard Tazuna, and Naruto and Sasuke engaged the enemies who tried to charge them. The two enemies didn't know what hit them. One minute their chain is linked and ready to take out the other silver-haired one, the next the chain is cut by a flash of blue. Sasuke attacked one wearing a gauntlet on his right hand with a spinning kick, successfully separating him from his partner. With his element of surprise gone, Sasuke was hard-pressed to dodge his opponent's swipes at him. He could see the green poison drip from the metal fingers. "Think, I've got to do something before he corners me. It's risky, but it could work. Naruto is starting to rub off on me." Sasuke slowly lessened the speed of his dodging. Soon the gauntlet was missing by inches. As he was backed into a tree, the enemy, sensing his victory, plunged his claw in for the kill, only to get it stuck in the tree behind the genin. Sasuke had jumped over the attack at the last minute. As he came down, both his hands landed on the smooth armored metal. Tightening his grip, he put all his strength into a devastating mule kick. The kick smashed into the mon's face, sending him into unconsciousness. It was amazing his neck hadn't snapped from the force. Naruto's battle was one-sided. The boy danced around gauntlet on the man's left hand with little to no effort at all. The attacks was obvious. This opponent was unworthy. The older man couldn't even keep up with him, and he wasn't even using his sword. Then he felt it. Bum bum. Naruto's blood began to boil. His heartbeat was racing. It called out for him to crush his enemy without mercy. A dull blue aura gathered around him as the bandages on his arm began to unravel, and his right eye was slowly clouded over by a blood-red glow. He clutched his head in pain. The boy froze. His head was down and a strange blue chakra was gathering around him as he seemed to struggle against something. The older man, seeing the boy stop, took the opening and dismissed the blue chakra as a trick of the light. When he struck, his eyes widened as his gauntlet was stopped effortlessly by the boy's right arm. He followed with a sucker punch to get out, but that was stopped as well. They grappled for a moment before the boy raised his head. Every muscle in the man's body seized up in fear when he saw those blood-red eyes. When the boy spoke, it was deeper and echoed eerily around him. "You are nothing compared to me," Naruto said in a voice dripping with disdain. Naruto headbutted the Chunin hard. The man backed away, seeing stars. When they cleared, he could see he was outnumbered with his brother down. He decided a tactical retreat was in order. He threw multiple shuriken at Tazuna, and when Sakura and Sasuke moved to protect him, they fled. Naruto just stood there, struggling to stay in control of his bloodlust. Trish calmly stood before the boy, ignoring the demonic power that he was leaking. She walked up to him and wrapped her arms around his neck while kneeling to look into his glowing red eyes. "Master, control your power." She felt the power recede as Naruto pulled himself together. "You are one surprise after another, young one," Trish thought with amusement. She almost let him go, but decided to just reposition herself to where she stood behind him with her arms still wrapped around his neck. Naruto was too tired to care as her hand played in his silver locks. Kakashi was the only one who had witnessed this strange scene. Sasuke had been preoccupied with his battle. Sakura had been watching Sasuke's fight. He had yet to crush all the fangirl out of her, so Naruto's battle was completely missed by her. And Tazuna was too nervous and deep in thought to care about anything around him. Kakashi revealed himself, surprising only Tazuna. "Status report," Kakashi said as he turned to his team. "No damage sustained, sensei." They each answered in union. "Good. Now, based on combat observation, what have you learned?" He looked to Sasuke on the far left. Enemy ninja were at least Chunin level, judging by skill, and had planned attack from the start, watching this and waiting for perfect chance to strike. "Enough. Sakura, how were they discovered?" The girl stood a little straighter at being addressed. Enemy Chunin were discovered due to their own poor observation skills. They hid under the genjutsu of a puddle even though it has not rained in several weeks. Sakura finished. And lastly, who was their target? Naruto. The boy was still being held by Trish and seemed tired. Whatever happened must have put him though quite a bit of strain, but he ignored his sudden energy loss and answered anyway. Kakashi had to ignore the vague resemblance of the genin's position and a similar scene in his book. He put all his might into not taking out his book to see how that scene ended. That wouldn't fit the seriousness of the situation. The target was obviously our charge, Tazuna. All of them stared at Tazuna, who was now sweating heavily. The old man went to try and explain his position, but before he got the chance he was beat by Kakashi addressing his team. Since you handled the attack so well, I'll let you guys choose. Will we continue our mission or abandon it? All those who wish to abandon the mission, speak up now. After a while, when no objections were here, Kakashi continued. As expected, move out. As Team 7 along with Trish behind Naruto walked away, Tazuna just stood there stunned. Only when Kakashi asked if he was coming did the man rush to catch up. Why did you choose to help me? The old man couldn't help but ask. Naruto answered for all of them, in his own way. Well, quitting would only make us bitches. Besides, we could use a challenge, it sounds like fun. Sasuke's smirk and Sakura's shy smile proved they had similar reasons not to object. Kakashi's head was in his orange book trying to find out how the scene he was reminded of ended. He could always grill Naruto and his new girlfriend on what happened later. Trish didn't answer, it was her duty to protect the descendant of Sparta. In a hideout located in Wave, we see a short, greedy-looking man in an expensive suit yelling at another man on a couch. The man on the couch was getting very annoyed with his clients complaining. Do you hear me, Zabuza? Your men failed. I should kill them myself since the others didn't. I did not pay that money for failure. The man was cut off when a huge sword nearly took his head off. Normally it wouldn't be that impressive, but with the man, Zabuza, still sitting in his seat nearly a dozen feet away holding the sword, that was close enough for the short man to touch, in one hand. Stop your whining, Gato. I'll just have to take care of the mission myself. Haku, Guzu, Maizu. Come. Zabuza calmly walked out, strapping the sword to his back as his masked apprentice and the demon brothers followed a few feet behind. Gato stood on shaky legs, barely keeping his bladder in check. That bastard. He seethed. He was not one to insult so casually. The price he had to paying them was robbery. Is it uncovered yet? Gato asked one of his henchmen, forgetting his anger. Almost, sir. The surrounding area is still being cleared. It will be fully uncovered shortly, a week at most. The man answered, straightening his tie. Good, you can go now. When the man walked out, Gato let out his cry of excitement. When I'm done with you, Zabuza, you're going to beg for my forgiveness and I'm going to enjoy killing you. The greedy man's insane laughter could be heard throughout the compound. So you see, that's why I had to lie. We didn't have enough money to pay you, but we need the protection. We're struggling. I have to finish that bridge. It's Wave's only hope to stop Gato. Tazuna had explained his reason to lying as they sat in the boat taking them to Wave. Tazuna had just finished as they finished their boat ride. Tazuna tried to thank his friend for his help, but the man was already pushing his boat as hard as he could to get as far away as possible. Tazuna ignored the man. Well, my home is only a little ways off. Hopefully we can get there in one piece. As they walked, Trish whispered something in Naruto's ear no one could hear and then fell behind. Their journey was peaceful until they reached a large lake with a lone figure standing on the water blocking their path. Well, if it isn't Sharingan Kakashi. It is an honor to finally meet you. How about you step aside and let me kill the bridge builder? Momochi Zabuza, missing ninja of the mist, sorry I can't let you do that. Kakashi raised his forehead protector to reveal his Sharingan eye. Zabuza chuckled. I was hoping you'd say that. He brought his hands up into a seal and mist started to blanket the area. Let's see you try and stop me. As everything faded from view, all that could be heard was Zabuza's dark laughter. What to choose? Throat, spinal column, lungs, liver, jugular vein, subclavian artery, kidney, or heart. How shall I kill you? Kakashi was analyzing the situation while scanning the thick mist with his Sharingan. Triangle formation around Tazuna. The three genin responded instantly. Sasuke's curiosity over Kakashi's Sharingan was forgotten as the killing intent from Zabuza washed over him. Sakura was frozen in fear. Naruto tried to catch any sound of warning. The killing intent had no effect on him. This was way more intense than any of their training sessions. Hell, it beat all the training sessions combined. Kakashi heard him coming, but when he blocked the attack he discovered it had come from one of the demon brothers. He was surrounded by the demon brothers and Zabuza. Each attacked him in perfect synchronization. Two claw swipes distracted him and put him in the path of Zabuza's Zanbato. He ducked in time to avoid losing his head. When the Zanbato dug into the ground, Zabuza had already switched his grip, allowing the motion to aid in his kick. The kick came faster than normal with the additional speed of the spin and struck Kakashi in the chest, sending him into the lake. Suiru no Jutsu. The water swirled around Kakashi, forming a circular prison. Zabuza was standing on the water and had managed to trap Kakashi. Now, to take care of your annoying little genin. Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu. A puddle near the genin formed into a perfect copy of Zabuza. That is before it was cut down by Naruto. Naruto snorted, "Please," as if a copy could take us down. "Come on, or are you too afraid to face us head on?" Turning to his still frozen teammates. "Hey pretty boy, you afraid to break a nail again, or you gonna help? Pinky snap you ass out of it." Sasuke's fear was replaced by anger at Naruto, while Sakura didn't want to get on Naruto's people to kill list. "Looks like I'm going to have to teach you what a true swordsman can do." Zabuza relinquished control of the water prison to one of the demon brothers and turned to the other. "Make sure the other brats don't interfere." Zabuza rushed Naruto. The water didn't hinder his movement at all. Naruto met his charge with a streak as soon as the Jonin stepped foot on land. The Zanbato smashed against the katana in a shower of sparks, but the smaller sword held strong. Naruto met Zabuza blow for blow with a strength to match his. When Zabuza realized the kid could match him, he used his next sword lock to push the kid back, giving him enough time to create a thick mist. Naruto was attacked from all directions. The genin was in the Jonin's element. He needed to even the playing field. The bandages on his right arm were torn off, revealing his devil bringer to the world. Zabuza's next strike was caught by a transparent blue hand, much to his surprise. "Hey asshole, you got a really fucked up notion of fair play and it's really pissing me off." Naruto's devil bringer held tight as the Jonin tried to pull his weapon away. With a yell, the boy pulled himself towards Zabuza, aiming a sword thrust for his head. The Jonin managed to twist out of the way in time, escaping with a small cut under his eye. "I need to hold him still so I can free Kakashi." Naruto jumped at Zabuza. The mist was now thinning and he had Zabuza in his sight. As he flew through the air, he turned sideways and began to spin himself along with Yamato. Aerial Rave. Yamato's slashes were blocked by the Zanbato, but the attacks did knock the huge cleaver to the ground. While still in the air, Naruto stabbed Yamato into the Zanbato to make sure it stayed pinned to the ground. He then grabbed a kunai and stuck it to the toe of his boot with chakra. Using his katana as a handle, began to spin his body with his legs lashing out at Zabuza. He had to switch his grip as Zabuza dodged to prolong the attack. But Zabuza's skill as a Jonin allowed him to dodge all the strikes. Naruto's foot dug into the ground. He released the kunai and pushed off, launching himself into the air. Zabuza followed with his sword, now free for him to use. Zabuza and Naruto's blades met once again, but Zabuza used his superior weight to bat Naruto away. Zabuza was surprised when Naruto used his new attack, Caliber. Naruto bounced off a tree and used a mid-air streak attack on his opponent, slamming into Zabuza's Zanbato. The man was thrown to the ground and had to leave his sword to move out of the way of Naruto's following split attack. Naruto's katana stabbed into the ground and Zabuza moved around behind him to put the genin in a headlock. "Hey, what you gonna do now, shrimp?" Zabuza's answer was Naruto pulling his sword from the ground and stabbing through himself to get the Jonin as well. Zabuza tried to escape, but the boy thrust his sword deeper into himself, pinning them both. "You little punk." Zabuza growled out through the pain. "How this?" Naruto raised a shaky devil bringer and sent out a summoned sword towards Kakashi's jailer. The man dodged, but in doing so he sealed the Konohamaru's victory. Naruto pulled out Yamato and stumbled away from Zabuza. He could already feel the wound closing, but darkness was creeping into his vision. Note to self: that fucking hurts. Naruto fell to his knees, slowly losing the battle to stay conscious. The battle must have been more taxing than he thought. The last thing he saw was Kakashi fighting Zabuza and the demon brothers off, and Trish's face appearing over him. Then everything went black. Hidden humanity. Naruto just floated in darkness. As he continued to drift through oblivion, the blackness around him started to take form of blurry images and scenery. "We've found it." The voice sounded aged but still held strength in it. Naruto could make out an old man through the haze. He was dressed as a spiritual leader, in robes and a hat, and seemed rather frail. This is amazing. My lord, do you know what this means? Naruto looked to the stuttering man. He was built like a fighter but seemed to more of a thinker due to the scroll he was furiously scribbling on. The haze had almost completely disappeared. They were in a large room, decorated in various weapons and statues. Most seemed worn from years of age while others looked untouched by the amount of time spent there. Another man, next to the stuttering one, spoke up. Yes, we are one step closer. It is only a matter of time. The man stood tall and straight. He looked more noble and fit for battle than the other two. The older man, Naruto thought was the leader, walked up to an elegant statue of a demon with a sword. As the older man got closer, Naruto realized the statue was of Sparta himself. In an impressive display of strength for a man his age, he tore the blade for the statue's grasp. He held it over his head tightly as if it would disappear if he let go. With force edge and out grasp, all that is needed is Yamato. The old man said. What? The old man froze at his outburst and disappeared in a burst of speed. Naruto felt a grip tighten around his neck. He tried to get free but the hand held strong. Seems the little devil is listening in on our conversation. The old man leaned closer to where he could stare Naruto in the eyes. We're coming for you, wielder of Yamato. Rebellion is out of outreach, but you are still young and weak. A sudden burst of energy slammed into the old man, causing him to lose his grip on Naruto. Naruto heard Trish's rage-filled voice flow from all around him. You shall not harm him. Then everything faded around him as he drifted back into a deep sleep. A beautiful young girl with raven black hair sat by Zabuza's bed. Her deep brown eyes darted to the door as a short man in an expensive suit walked in with two samurai bodyguards. So you have the nerve to come back? After you failed not once but twice. Gato walked up to Zabuza's bed with his guards next to him. As Gato got closer, the temperature seemed to drop. Small amounts of frost appeared on the windows. The young girl's eyes tracked the short man but she did not move. Zabuza looked straight ahead, ignoring the corrupt businessman. Devil of the hidden mist, my ass. I could kill you right now. Gato reached out towards Zabuza's neck. Gato's arm was grabbed by the young girl before his hand got even close. Don't touch him, you worm. She crushed the bones in his arm, getting a scream of pain from him. The two bodyguards went to draw their swords but found them held at their necks by the girl. Leave now or I will kill you. The girl's voice was cold and hard. The three men scrambled to get out the room. The room's silence was broken by Zabuza. There was no need for that, Haku. The man lifted his sheet to reveal the hidden kunai. The young girl smiled. If you killed him now, he'd be even more useless than he is now. She was right, and Zabuza felt too tired to care right now. The demon brothers then appeared in the room. Report. They kneeled before him. The younger brother, Mizu with a claw on his left arm, spoke up. Sir, we've been spying on the enemy. The Jonin is suffering from a mild case of chakra exhaustion, as you are, but he is still training his genin. The other brother, Guzu with the claw on his right arm, continued. He is preparing them for battle, teaching them more powerful techniques to use. Zabuza thought for a moment. What is their progress? He is adding more ninjutsu to the raven-haired boy's arsenal, while teaching the girl more taijutsu along with a few simple illusions. And the silver-haired genin with the sword? Zabuza's interest was given away by his voice. He didn't come across many rookies with that kind of skill with a sword. He was still recovering while we were spying on them. His battle with you drained him. It was difficult to observe him. He seemed to have a bodyguard. He seems to be the most dangerous of those three kids. He didn't flinch at the killing intent and he was able to defend against me in battle. Haku, I want you to keep an eye on him. You seem least suspicious. Yes, Zabuza-sama. The girl bowed deeply and left with her new task. In Gato's office a different conversation was being held. Gato was still cradling his broken arm. I want it uncovered. I don't care what it takes, just get it done. Gato's henchmen scrambled out of the hideout. I'll make you and that little bitch pay, Zabuza. Another lackey walked in. What do you want? Sir, the assassin you requested is here. Gato's eyes widened in surprise. So soon? At the man's nod he continued. Well, what are you waiting for? Send her in. The man walked out and soon a girl of about 16 years old with short blue hair walked in. She wore a more traditional type of ninja doji in white, consisting of a sleeveless upper garment and baggy pants. She also had black arm guards, a black mask that concealed the lower half of her face, and sunglasses. The bandages wrapped around her shins, ankles, and instep served as footwear. She had black kunai and shuriken holsters tied all around her waist, along with 4 more on each leg and arm, with a spear strapped to her back. "You requested a demon hunter?" She was all business. "Yes, I have reason to believe that a local group of ninja is being impersonated by demons. I can't trust Zabuza. I need someone to get rid of those enemy ninja. Hopefully she won't be able to tell the difference. By the way, we haven't introduced ourselves. I'm Gato. My name is no concern of yours. I will look into this, but if I find you are lying to me I will triple my fee. That is if I feel generous enough to let you live. Any details or requests about the mission?" This girl sure was high and mighty to say she was in his fortress. The team consists of 1 adult and 3 children. Each one of them is powerful. Which one of them are demons is uncertain. They are currently protecting the local bridge builder. Do not report back here. When I find they have been disposed of I will have one of my men find and pay you for your service. Alright, the demons are as good as dead. If I am not paid within 2 weeks of the kill you will be next. The young woman walked out, leaving grinning man behind. Too bad I had to kill her. You don't come across a figure like that often. Naruto's eyes opened slowly, only to be blinded by sunlight. He noticed his chest was wrapped in bandages. He tried to remember what happened, but his head was pounding too much for him to think straight. After a short while, everything came rushing back. The mission, Zabuza, the battle, then the dream. He tried to sit up. Every muscle in his body was burning in protest. A hand gently pushed him back down. He opened his eyes again to see the blurry outline of Trish. "You need to rest, master, you are still weak." Trish's gentle voice soothed Naruto's troubled mind. Naruto's body broke out in a series of spasms while the burning increased tenfold, becoming unbearable. As Naruto struggled though the pain, he managed to gasp out, "Why does it hurt so much?" The spasms subsided, leaving him weaker than before. Trish was quiet for a moment. "When you stabbed yourself, you unlocked something that was dormant. It caused a jump in your demonic energy, but it also..." She trailed off as if trying to believe it herself. "Also what, Trish?" Naruto did not know what was happening, but Trish did, and he'd be damned if he let her keep the answers from him. Trish sighed. "Your demonic blood has become more potent, master. The power you unlocked by stabbing yourself with Yamato fed off of another demonic energy inside you. Your blood is basically becoming more like that of a devil's. That is why you are weak. Your body is changing to hold more of your demonic power." Naruto sat quietly thinking over the information. "So I'm becoming more of a demon, great." His voice dripped with sarcasm, but a thought struck him. Just how much more demonic am I becoming? Trish thought for a moment. When you first pulled on the legacy in you blood, it was weak. But it still granted you Yamato and your devil bringer arm. While the weapons themselves are extremely powerful and the stress they caused you lessened as you trained, you were only able to harness a small amount the power they could provide. But your inner demon slowly fed off a foreign demonic energy inside you, allowing for you to slowly gain more power. Yay, but I never felt like this before. I can barely move, it even hurts to blink. Naruto tried to lift his arm. He managed to lift it a bit only for it to fall back to his side. The key was Yamato, master. When the blade was directly exposed to your blood willingly, it caused the demonic energies in you to accelerate the rate at which it drew on the foreign energy inside you for a short amount of time. The devil blood inside you is now just as potent as the human blood. Technically you're half devil now. But something I find curious is that your blood has also stopped feeding off the other energy completely. This news just keeps getting better and better. As if I didn't have enough with trying to explain my arm. Naruto managed to ignore the pain and sit himself up. Master, you must rest. Your power was explained by Kakashi as something called a Kekkei Genkei. It is accurate enough for you to avoid unwanted questions. She moved to push him back down, but he swatted her hand away. You were there, Trish, they're coming for me, they want Yamato. I need to get stronger, I couldn't even break the old man's grip. Naruto realized he was yelling and calmed himself. I didn't mean to yell. I just can't stand being weak. Might controls everything. Without power you can't protect anyone, let alone yourself. And right now I nowhere near powerful enough. Trish could see the pride and fear in his eyes when he looked at her. Without a word she helped him out of the futon Tazuna's daughter had provided for them. While grabbing Yamato and his coat she told him what happened while he was out. He had only been out for about a day. After he freed Kakashi, the Jonin was able to fight off Zabuza while Sakura and Sasuke held off the demon brothers. The enemy all escaped alive with the help of a masked ally, but Kakashi managed to severely weaken Zabuza. Kakashi was now training the other genin while he recovered from a slight case of chakra exhaustion. Tezuna's daughter tried to stop them from going outside, but a fierce glare from Naruto silenced her. Trish apologized for Naruto's behavior, but the woman still looked worried for the silver-haired boy. As they made their way to the others, Trish said Kakashi estimated they had anywhere from 3 days to a week to prepare for another battle. They walked into a clearing. Naruto had finally recovered enough strength to walk on his own, but Trish was still near just in case. Kakashi was sitting near a tree drilling the others into the ground. Again, Sasuke jumped into the air. Going through a few hand seals, he released 3 small fireballs headed straight toward Sakura. Sakura responded by punching the ground. A few small rocks were launched into the air. She kicked one and punched the 2 others at the fireballs, making them explode. Both genin fell to the ground. Sasuke had scorch marks all over his body along with some scrapes and bruises. Sakura's knuckles were bleeding and the skin was torn on her limbs from intense taijutsu training. Naruto clapped as he walked up to them with Trish following behind him. The genin stared at his devil bringer, but he ignored it. Kakashi got up and walked up to them. Now that we're all together, Naruto can explain his unique Kekkei Genkai. Kakashi motioned for Naruto to explain. The genin were curious. Even Kakashi had a tough time digging up the smallest amount of information on the abilities it provided Naruto. Naruto sighed, might as well get it over with. I don't know much about it since I'm still learning to use it, but what I do know, it is basically a weapon. Naruto stepped back and held out his devil bringer. His arm glowed and a larger, fully blue ethereal arm appeared over it. It functions like a regular arm, just has a little more oomph. Full range of motion, just as dexterous as my left arm, and deadly trump card. I can do anything from pound a boulder to rumble or snatch a fly out the air, not harming it in the least. Also allows me to make these. Naruto spun around as a blue sword shot from his arm, spinning like a shuriken, and cut down a tree. I call them summon swords. Still trying to make the damn things explode though, it's starting to piss me off. That's all I figured out so far. Whoa, I never knew Naruto had that kind of power. Sakura was in awe of Naruto's arm, but she couldn't say it surprised her. It fit Naruto's personality pretty well. I need to unlock my Sharingan. If he ever uses that against me, I'll need it to be able to keep up. Sasuke now saw Naruto as a worthy rival instead of the dead last genin. Of course, he'd never admit it out loud. Interesting. Kakashi wanted to uncover his Sharingan and take a closer look, but now wasn't the time. I am teaching Sakura how to utilize taijutsu and illusions, and Sasuke knew ninjutsu he must master. As for you, Naruto, I'm not sure what attacks would fit into your arsenal best. Trish stepped in. That is fine. I must teach the young master how to control Kekkei Genkai better anyway. So you know how his power works? Kakashi was still wary of this woman. Her chakra didn't feel normal, it felt darker, kind of like that of a demon's. No, I do not know how his power works, but I do know how to help him to control it. Trish walked away, disappearing into the surrounding trees. When you are ready, young master, you know where to find me. Kakashi stared down at Naruto. Just who is she and why is she here in the first place, Naruto? I never did get a chance to question you on it. She's supposed to be a family guardian. From what I've seen so far, she is trustworthy. I don't get why you're so worried about her. Naruto knew Trish didn't mean him any harm. Look, my Kekkei Genkai is getting stronger and she's the only one who can help me with it. You're just gonna have to trust me. Naruto hurried after Trish. The sooner he learned to control his powers, the better. Alright Naruto, for your sake, I hope you're right. Kakashi mumbled before turning back to his other genin on the ground. I don't remember saying you could take a break. The 2 genin groaned. Naruto walked into another clearing a little ways off from his teammates. Trish stood in the middle calmly waiting for him. Let's begin, shall we? Trish's sly smile made Naruto slightly nervous. Trish's training focused solely on his demonic powers while she kept giving suggestions on how to better his control. As they continued, he noticed it took less effort to use his devil bringer. Things he had usually had to concentrate on doing now happened almost on instinct. Soon she left him to continue his ninja training in private. She distracted Naruto too much for him to train diligently. Pressing up against him, teasing him, and many other actions that would put Naruto off track due to embarrassment. She also said she sensed a hostile presence near. Naruto still didn't know much about her. He couldn't even tell if she followed him willingly or if she was just being forced to. She did seem to take pride in helping him. She never talked about herself, either, but he still felt he could trust her with his life. It was odd. He didn't know how he became so close to her, but he liked having someone. After the years of loneliness, he finally had someone who was with him. The Sandaime, Tucci, and Ayame were precious to him, but they couldn't be with him as often as he would like with their duties. But Trisha's duty was to be with him. Was he selfish to enjoy her company, even if it was her duty? He didn't care. Being around her made him feel human for the first time since Kairi died. As Haku finished dressing herself, she let her mind wander. She didn't understand what it was about that genin that caught Zabuza-sama's interest. Yes, he was skilled, but they had met more dangerous ninja in the past. If he posed a treat, they could easily kill him. Just what did Zabuza-sama see in this boy? She grabbed a small basket while she walked out. She may as well see if she can find any herbs to help Zabuza-sama while watching the genin. On her walk to the forest, she realized the look Zabuza-sama had given the silver-haired genin. It was the same look he gave her when he first found her. The thought that he might be looking for another pupil sent a dull ache through her heart. Yes, she was his tool, but she was still sharp. Her skills were still growing. Would he really cast her aside so suddenly? Haku realized she was already in the forest. Finding a good area, she moved on instinct. Her body automatically started picking the good herbs from the weeds. Would her master forget about her? Could she be of no other use? She was so deep in thought that when she saw the moving lump on the ground, she went for her hidden needles, which were left at the base as to avoid suspicion. Upon closer inspection, she saw that it was only her target. The boy's silver hair was tangled and messy. His coat was also off, showing off his well-defined upper body. Haku blushed when she caught herself staring. Then she noticed the boy's right arm. Reddish armor covered it with blue skin underneath, skin that still glowed despite the boy being asleep. The cause of her worry and fear was only a few feet away. Unaware, unguarded, if she reached out she could snap his neck and he would die. No, she couldn't let her emotions cloud her judgment. Zabuza would never toss her away. She moved to nudge the boy awake, but as soon as her hand neared him, his eyes shot open and she felt a blade touch her neck, not hard but enough to draw a thin line of blood. Fear gripped her heart as those eyes stared into her very soul. She was weaponless, trapped, and at his mercy. She tried not to swallow as the blade would only cut deeper. The blade left her neck as quickly as it came to rest there. She heard the boy say something. "I am sorry?" Haku couldn't believe she was stuttering. Maybe it will make her seem more like a civilian. "I said don't sneak up on me like that, unless you want to die, girl." The boy's voice was guarded. "I only meant to wake you. You'll catch a cold if you sleep out here." Haku couldn't think of anything else to say. She was not sure how she was going to do this. The boy's awareness was on par with her master's. And by the way he spoke, he wasn't the guy that went out of his way to make friends. Spying on him may be impossible. Whatever, just don't get in my way. He dismissed her to continue his training. Haku couldn't believe it. This boy who could nearly stand up to her master would dismiss a potential treat so casually. He walked up the nearest tree. "Hey babe, if you want to watch that's cool, but try not to stare, although I can't really blame you." Haku's face went red in embarrassment. There had to be a way to gain his trust. There is no way he would let his guard down so easily. "Actually, I was wondering if you could help me gather some herbs. My mother is sick and I'll need a large amount to make her some medicine." Maybe she could still fool him. He landed softly beside her. "If I do, will ya stop bugging me?" Haku just smiled and showed him what the plants she needed looked like. Soon they were both at work finding them. "So what were you doing so early? It must have been hard since you fell asleep." If only she could get him to open up. "I was training." The boy didn't look up from the herbs he was collecting. Why? She was truly curious. The boy was surely past genin level in strength. He had to bento hold off Zabuza. Why push himself so hard to become stronger? To become stronger. "I've lost too much from being weak. I'm not going to let it happen again." This time he did look up, only to look past her as if he saw something happening she didn't. "Do you have anyone worth protecting? I believe when you protect someone close to you, you can become stronger than ever." She asked him. He was becoming more responsive. This was her chance to dig deeper. Yeah, I know what you mean. That's exactly why I'm trying to become stronger. I lost someone dear to me and I never want that to happen again. His eyes focused back on her. Why so curious? You want to be someone close to me or something? Haku was surprised at his conclusion and could feel her face heat up in embarrassment. How was he able to get this reaction from her so easily? She decided there was no harm in that. Yes, I'd like to be your friend, that is if you don't mind. Haku's reports would slowly become less descriptive as she focused more on Naruto than his actual training. He intrigued her. They were so much alike. She had been honest and told him about her past while he listened quietly. In return, she found out about his past. She actually cried for him the night she found out. She found herself coming back to this spot more often just for a chance to talk to him. Naruto didn't know what it was about this girl, Haku. She reminded him so much of Kairi. The peacefulness she seemed to radiate, her smile, even the way she acted. His attitude did not bother her at all. She would just smile at him. She didn't even seem to care about his arm. Everyone who saw it would stare in fear, but she just studied his arm in awe, more so than even Trish or Sakura did. He found himself opening up to her as he grew to know her better. In just 4 days he felt as if he'd known her his entire life. But deep down he wondered, will the same thing that happened to Kairi happen to her? Or will he be able to protect her from harm? Zabuza was almost fully recovered, just a little while longer. He couldn't help but think on how strangely Haku had been behaving. At first she had carried out his mission expertly. She gave specific details on the silver-haired boy, Naruto she called him, did during his training. But slowly her reports became less and less detailed. Zabuza thought that might have meant there was no change, but that was unlike Haku. Even when there was no change she detailed why there was no change. She became more to herself as well. Just sitting alone with nothing but her own thoughts to keep her company. He was worried what could have brought out such a change in her. Haku, he called. Normally she was by his side in mere moments, but each time he called she took a little longer. The apple he was eating was crushed into pieces as his patience ran thin. Yes, Zabuza-sama, she appeared in her civilian clothes, kneeling before him, another change in her behavior. She worn them more often, and even though she constantly spied on the Naruto boy, she had little detail on his training. She hadn't even found out about the boy's arm. We attack tomorrow. Prepare yourself. He saw the surprise flash across her features, but it was quickly hidden. I will prepare at once. She moved to leave. Haku, are you with me? His question came out without emotion. Of course, Zabuza-sama. She didn't move from her kneel. And she was looking at the ground. You will kill for me? She stayed silent for a while. He asked again, will you kill for me, my tool? Yes, Zabuza-sama, I will. Good, you are dismissed. She quickly left. He thought he saw a faint trace of sadness and was about to apologize before he caught himself. She is only a tool. But that didn't stop him from regretting what he said to her. Naruto stumbled into Tazuna's house. Everyone turned to see him smiling despite his beat-up condition. Taking a few more unsteady steps, his legs gave out on him. Trish was there to catch him before he hit the ground. She guided him to his seat at the table where he slumped into a heap. He weakly waved Trish away when he saw her hovering above him. Trish calmly took her seat next to him. While Naruto looked by far the worst out of the genin, Sasuke and Sakura were not exactly in pristine condition either. So you're back, you look like something the cat dragged in. Well, I'm not one to talk while being so dirty, but the bridge is almost done. Tazuna's comment was good-natured. The old man was in a rather happy mood from his current progress. Kakashi looked up from his book. I am almost fully recovered. We will all accompany Tazuna tomorrow so he can finish the bridge. The happy atmosphere was broken when the little boy, Inari, slammed his hands on the table. Why are you trying so hard? You're just going to die anyway. Tears were sliding down the boy's cheeks. Naruto knew this kid had been through a lot, but that didn't mean he had the right to degrade them. At least we're doing something, you little shit. Your grandpa is risking his neck to free his home and we're doing our best to protect him. Even your mom is helping by providing food and a place to sleep. And what are you doing? You're crying and saying it's hopeless. Quit your bitchin' and suck it up. Naruto put his head back down. Inari's tears only increased. Shut up. You think you're so cool, but you don't know anything about me. You have nothing to worry about and you have no idea what the suffering and loneliness in my life is like. Tazuna and his. Everyone felt the sudden change in Naruto. Kakashi tensed instinctively as Naruto's chakra spiked. This might not end well. Sasuke, Sakura, and even the less chakra-sensitive Tazuna and Tsunami could sense the sudden change. The only one who didn't seem bothered by it at all was Trish. "You wanna die, you little shit?" Naruto's voice was calm and tense. Naruto looked up to give Inari a glare that froze the boy in fear. They could see the red starting to bleed into the white of his eyes. "You don't know a damn thing about me, so don't ever compare your life to mine." Naruto got up and left, leaving the boy trembling in fear. The door slammed behind Naruto. Trish got up shortly after to follow him. "I will bring him back after he has calmed himself." Inari sat silently outside watching the waves. "Do you mind if I join you?" The boy turned to see Kakashi walk up and sit down next to him. You know, Naruto wasn't trying to be mean, he just lost control. You managed to strike a sore spot he still has trouble dealing with. The boy didn't respond, he just looked out to the water. "Tazuna told us what happened to you, father. And while you may think you've had a hard life, it is nothing compared to the hell Naruto has been through. Sometimes I think he has had it worse than me, and that's saying something." The boy looked up in shock. Imagine growing up with nothing, no family, no friends, not even a home. And then one day be given the one thing you wanted, a mother who loves you. Only to have it torn away, leaving you with even more pain. But even with the pain he kept going. All he has been through, and not once have I ever seen him give up. He is too strong. He won't let himself take the easy way out and just quit, he keeps fighting though. That's why he is so angry with you. To him you're just giving up, and it annoys him to no end. He doesn't hate you, he just can't stand seeing you give up all hope when you still have so much to live for. You still have your loving mother and grandfather and a chance to free yourself from Gato, and yet you don't even try to grasp it. Out of all of us he knows what you're going through the most, and, in his own way, he is trying to help you. He may seem a little rough around the edges, but his heart is always in the right place." Kakashi got up, dusting himself off. He walked away but called over his shoulder. "Try and think on it. That little fucker thinks I don't know what it's like." Naruto punched the massive tree repeatedly with his devil bringer. The tree splintered and cracked as his arm kept slamming into it, each hit stronger than the last. With a groan, the tree slowly toppled to the ground, aimed directly at Naruto. Naruto's devil bringer glowed in anticipation. As the tree came down, it was met by the ethereal blue arm that extended from the devil bringer and slammed into it. The force behind the hit lifted the tree into the air, and on its second way down it split down the middle, falling on either side of the half-devil. Naruto was about to start on another tree when slender arms wrapped around his neck, pulling him into the woman behind him. One stayed around his neck as the other moved upward and started to play in his silver locks. The presence seemed to calm the beast raging inside of him as he relaxed into the woman. "That is enough, master, save your strength for when it is needed." Trish's voice wasn't angry, but it was still firm. She added more gently, "The boy is still young, do not let his words get to you." She released her hold on him and began to walk back. "Come, you must rest for tomorrow, your teacher is expecting a battle." "And just how do you know that?" His only answer was a sly smile. As the two walked off, a blue-haired figure watched from the shadows. "This demon is powerful, but so confusing. And then there is his demon servant. These two will be difficult to defeat." The figure faded into the shadows. The short man with a broken arm sat in his chair patiently. 3 of his guards walked in with a suitcase. "Is that it?" The men nodded. "Show it to me." Placing the suitcase on his desk, they unlocked in. Gato reached out and opened it. The light blinded him for a moment, but inside he saw his prize. An evil smile settled on his face. The eerie light that the item gave off twisted his features. The smile stayed there even when he closed the suitcase. "Leave me," the small man barked. The lackeys quickly complied. A low chuckle escaped his lips. "Finally, I can crush them all. Tomorrow they will all pay." The low chuckle became louder, and soon it turned into a full-blown insane laugh. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.